You say we are free. I need a list to give you more, you better. You to all. You say we are free. I need a list about your more, you was gone. Ayan, Jana Junubi Ayan. Mafi Gurus, Kisim Giwasha Shedi. Oh, Gian. Jana Junubi Gian. It was to be late. Umakulu Elefadur. Anataban. Since 2011. Ladiasa, same level today. Anataban, 21 years, fighting for freedom, and we are fighting ourselves today. No one is safe on Emily Road. No one is safe on Juba to Terekeka Road. Dead bodies recovered on the river Nice. Only God knows when the killers will be found. Oh no, land grabbers everywhere. The youth are dying on the streets. We were finished from the bullets of the unknown gunmen and cattle raiders. Ayan, Jana Junubi Ayan. Mafi Gurus, Kisim Giwasha Shedi. Oh, Gian. Jana Junubi Gian. It was to be late. Umakulu Elefatur. Anataban, since 2011, Ladiasa, same level today. Anataban, 21 years, fighting for freedom, and we are fighting ourselves today. No, if this time for everything, where is time for our peace? Oh Lord, if this time for everything, where is time for our peace? We prayed for this country. Oh, school fees, and I'm a bit on soon. Me, my dad is a Tacoma, the university Tacoma. On bigger garden. Yeah, the promise of free education by Dr. John is gone. Anataban, City Shur, Mavi May Alleges Shabi. Oh, Wanataban, Sabashur, Mavi May Aleusa Sukur. Oh, Anataban, since 2011.
Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Abraham Dade Majak, one of the Lagos State Media host. My guest in the studio with me is Honorable Oliver Mori Benjamin, and also Honorable Duwar Deng. So welcome everybody. So please start sharing. We're still having our guests still on the way. They will come. The Honorable John Agany is on the way. He's coming, and also Idmun Yakani is also on the way. They will join us very soon. So please let us share the video for those of you who are watching on YouTube and on Facebook. Please start sharing. While we're waiting, I'm going to go ahead with the guest in the studio with me right now, and while the other guest will follow us on the way when they come. Before we go to our conversation, let me welcome my two honorable guests. Let me give them this chance to introduce themselves to the South Sudanese, and also for behalf of Lagos State Media, I would like to thank you so much for two parliamentarian, honorable Duwar, and also honorable so honorable Duwar, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then give my call back to honorable Oliver to introduce himself. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are on the studio. It will be compatible for those who are watching us live. As you have been told, my name is Samuel Duwar Deng. Both of us are members of the TNLA, and our colleague John Agany Deng, who is the person of the TNLA, National Legislative Assembly. Unfortunately, he was also being consumed with another program, the iRadio. So he has just sent me a text message that is answering to a question by iRadio, and very soon, as soon as he finish. I think that program with iRadio is now finishing, but he's going to join us shortly. I thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, give the chance to Honorable Oliver.
Yeah, Comrade, thank you very much for hosting us in this Lake State Media House. First, I would like to correct that the opening has not been that of the National Parliament. It has been the opening of the National Legislature, combining the TNLA and the Council of State. This was what was inaugurated by His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit on the 3rd of April. However, in that historic address of the President, there were mainly 2 to 3 major important points, namely need for unity among Southerners, need for unity of all the political parties, those who have ascended their signatures to the revitalized peace agreement and the roadmap, and even those outside who call themselves still the opposition outside. The third is the issue of peace. And the President clearly made it clear that there is no more return to war whatsoever is the situation. The fourth is that by all means, we are going to have elections at the end of this year, comes December 2024. And then finally, after achieving all this, there is need for all the citizens of South Sudan to embark on agriculture. Why? Because our dependence has been on the oil, as everybody knows. But as of late, because of the crisis in our northern neighbor, the Sudan, definitely South Sudan is facing a big problem of its pipelines taking the fuel from South Sudan to Port Sudan. So everybody was encouraged by the president that whatever you're doing, please take agriculture as a priority. Those were the main things he addressed the parliament on, and he requested the members of parliament to seriously and urgently embark on those bills which are a prerequisite for conducting the elections, as I had said it earlier. Later on, I will come to explain why we need these elections by December 2024. At this stage, Comrade Duwar, you may come in to talk to our listeners and viewers as well.
I think, Brother Madid, we were just only making introduction. Is that not so?
Yes, yeah, that's true. Yes, yeah, that's
There
true.
was only introduction because we have to wait for those who have not yet joined in
Yeah,
to come, so that we will carry on with our conversation, the big conversation. This is how
yes,
I should think so. Yeah, it's good also. I heard Edmond Yakani is also coming, the civil society. The way the view at and analyze the speech of the president during his nation address in the opening of the opening session of the TNLA. So I thank my brother here, Honorable Oliver Mori. He has squarely tried to give full overview on what should be the next future of our parliament. So thank you very much. We will be waiting for those who have not yet joined to join, and we will be able to exchange and answer each other. Thank you.
I think actually waiting.
yeah. We can continue. Yeah, we continue.
Yeah, surely. That's
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say.
yeah,
We
you're right.
cannot put indefinitely. You see transport, jamming of the traffic at this time. So, as I said earlier, let me pick one of the topics which I had mentioned. Why does the country, South Sudan, need to go for elections comes December 2024? وده هنا أنا داير أتكلم باللغة العربية بتاعنا البسيط ده بتاع السوق، لأن الانتخابات ده ما انتخابات بتاع مثقفين ولا ناس متعلمين بس. الانتخابات ده بهم أي مواطن في جنوب السودان. فنحن لما نتكلم بإنجليزي يعني الكلام ده الرسالة ده ممكن بوصل بس لناس اللي درسوا اللغة الإنجليزية، في حين إنه الانتخابات بشمل المواطن بتاعنا اللي في الريف، اللي بيتكلم بباريا، اللي بيتكلم بدينكا، بنوير، بأنيوات، لكن اللغة اللي بربطهم كله هي اللغة العربية. نحن في التاريخ بتاعنا كجنوبيين في وقت بتاع النضال وحتى قبل وقت بتاع النضال بعد أديس أبابا أجريمنت، كان المشاكل بتاع الجنوبيين كله الوصول على قمة بتاع السلطة، على رئاسة بتاع حكومة كانوا حكومة بتاع جنوب السودان في الوقت ذاك. فكان الناس بلقوا إن الزول اللي بيدي السلطة ده هو الشمال. عشان كده كان الانتخابات كلها اللي بيعملوها في الوقت ده المرشحين على الرئاسة بتاع مجلس التنفيذي في وقت ده لازم بيجروا لخرطوم عشان يدعموه. عشان كده ما كنا عندنا استقرار من 72 ل 74 ل 74 ل 78. حصل مشاكل كتير بين الناس حتى ما في الآخر دخل فيه ما يسمى بكوكورة. كان الناس كله بيفتكروا إنه الحاجات دي ممكن خرطوم يفرض للشعب بتاع الجنوب، لكن بعد التوقيع بتاع CPA The Comprehensive Peace Agreement اللي وقعوه في نيفاشا بيجينا أحرار وصبرنا 6 سنين مع بعض حتى جانا الريفرندوم. الريفرندوم ده لما جاء الناس كل المتعلمين والما متعلمين أكثر من 98% من شعب بتاع جنوب السودان صوتوا على أساس إنه نحن نبقى دولة بتاعنا برانا كجنوبيين. حققنا الاستقلال، لكن بس بعد سنتين 2013 بنفس اللعنة بتاع اكزيكتيف، كان بعض من الناس بيفتكروا انه لازم يكون في انقلابات عشان يمشي لرئاسة بتاع حكومة الجنوب، وما نفعت. اوكي نمشي لاتفاقية، ما نفع. بيفتكر الديس اجريمنتس اللي بيجيبوه من برا ده ممكن بيكون كسلم عشان يوصل واحد منهم لرئاسة بتاع الجنوب، ما نجحت. جرب التمرد ما نجحت. 2016 succeed until finally نحن جينا لريفيتالايز peace agreement في 2018. في الاتفاقية ده في شيئين مهمين كان: مسألة جمع القوات واندماجهم في جيش الشعب. بمساعدة من ربنا تمكنا إن الفوج الأول أو الدفعة الأولى استوعبوا، لكن العالم برضو القوى العالمية فرضوا علينا ظروف ليه هسه نحن ما قادرين نطلع منها، والظروف ده متعلقة بأمر إمباغو وإمباغو على أفراد في جنوب السودان. ده ما كان لنا ننفذ الاتفاقية ده بصورة اللي كانت مطلوبة، لأنه حتى الدفعة الأولى تم تخريج بتاعه، خرجون بعصايات، كان جيش، كان بوليس، كان سجون، كان مطافي، وده ما حصل في أي محل في العالم. لكن لأنه نحن عايزين سلام وافقنا إنه ديل خليها يخرجون بعصايات بتاعهم ده، وبنفتكر إنه المؤتمر الدولي ده بيكون عاقل شوية إنه يرفع هذا الحظر ويتم السماح باستيراد أسلحة لجنوب السودان، ورفع كل العقوبات الجائرة المفروضة على بعض المواطنين في جنوب السودان. عليها اللي حصل دي لسه ما تمت، وأمامنا الدفعة الثانية. الدفعة الثانية ده إن شاء الله برضو هيتخرجوا وهيتم توظيف بتاعهم. عشان كده فرضوا لنا حاجة تانية ما لقيناها في العالم، وهو رئيس جمهورية و5 نواب رئيس جمهورية. ونحن دولة عندنا موارد، لكن لأن المشاكل الاقتصادية ما ممكن تكون عندك دولة لسه ناشئ يكون عنده رئيس و5 نواب. فبنفتكر إنه الانتخابات ده في ديسمبر 2024 لازم يقام، على الأقل لو ما شمل الفئات الثلاثة لازم يقام انتخابات بتاع رئاسة الجمهورية، لأنه انتخابات بتاع رئيس الجمهورية الحاجة بس المطلوب فيها هو تسجيل بتاع الناس، والدائرة هو معروف هي نتاج بتاع جمهورية جنوب السودان. ده ما حاجة بيحتاج إنه لا we have not unified forces، لا ما عملنا constitutional review، ما عملنا كذا وكذا. فانتخابات بتاع رئيس الجمهورية ده لازم يتم عشان يحسم لنا موضوع بتاع رئاسة الجمهورية. ما في طريقة ثانية زول ثاني بيجري برا، حتى ذا قال بيفكر إنه هو هيتمرد وبعد ده عشان يجي رئيس ما هيتم. ده حصل فرصة صانعة لمواطنين بتاع جنوب السودان إنه في ديسمبر السنة ده لازم يكون في انتخابات لرئيس الجمهورية، وأي زول الفرصة متاحة له وحقه الناس اللي عندهم رغبة لوقوف لرئاسة الجمهورية ده ما يفوت الفرصة ده. Let them come and contest against President Salva Kiir ما يرضي. أنا بقول هذا الكلام لأنه حزب الحركة الشعبية already أيدت إن المرشح بتاعهم لرئاسة الجمهورية هو الفريق سالفا كير ما يرضي. فبقى الناس دي والله الباب مفتوح لهم. Let them come and contest عشان نوقف المشكلة بتاع صراع للسلطة. بعض من الناس كان بيفتكروا إنه دي مشكلة بتاع SPLM. Now the issue is no longer the issue of the SPLM. It is now open to everybody. It is open to SPLM, it is open to SOA, it is open to FDC, it is open to everybody. حتى إخواننا البرة ديل والله الفرصة بطلهم متاحة لهم كان لي يجوا ويجيبوا مرشح بتاعهم وشعب الجنوب يقرر منيا بكون رئيس الجمهورية. لما نحصل على رئيس الجمهورية أول حاجة حيخفف لنا المشكلة الاقتصادية. حيخفف كيف؟ بدل ما يكون عندنا 5 نواب لرئيس الجمهورية حيكون عندنا بس واحد نائب رئيس الجمهورية. فالصرف الثقيل اللي كم يصرفوها للنواب رئيس الجمهورية ده القروش ده حيمشي للتنمية. في نفس الوقت برضه بنشوف إنه البرلمان ومجلس الولايات العدد بتاعهم ده خيالي. نحن هسه في Transitional National Legislative Assembly مجلس التشريع نحن 550. ده عدد خيالي جدا ما له لزوم. وإنت بنرى إنه هذا العدد حينخفض إلى حد معقول. يعني زمان لما بدأنا CPA كان 171. بعدين لما جاء انتخابات بتاع 2010 كان جملة الأعداء كله 332. أشمعنا ليه ما نرجع بعد ذاك بدل 550 يكون 332. مجلس الولايات الحسب بقى فيه 100 ممكن ينزلوا ل50. ده حيوفر مال للتنمية. حتى مجلس الوزراء الحالي هم almost 35 وكم وزارة الدولة لو نقصوها ل25 أو 20 بنفع وباقي الفائض من المصروفات ده يخش في التنمية بتاع الدولة. ده من الفوائد الناس هيستفيدوا منه في انتخابات بتاع رئيس الجمهورية. الانتخابات الثانية لازم يتم الحكام بتاع الولايات والمناطق الإدارية الثلاثة. مثلا نقول في سنترال إيكواتوريا do without that سنترال إيكواتوريا ده ما عنده دائرة بتاعه المعروفة ولأجل من الولايات 10 والمناطق الإدارية الثلاثة. فالانتخابات ده فقط بيتطلب تسجيل مواطنين في تلك الولايات 10 والمناطق الإدارية الثلاثة يسجلون عشان يصوتوا لحكام بتاع الولايات 10 والمناطق الإدارية الثلاثة. وإذا سمحت الظروف برضو أنا أفتكر عندنا حوالي 79 محافظة في جنوب السودان حاليا. والمحافظات دي الحدود بتاعهم برضو معروفة. ممكن برضو يتم تسجيل بتاع الناخبين في كل كاونتي عشان يصوت للمحافظين. إما فيما يختص بانتخابات المجلس التشريعي القومي ومجلس الولايات ده هتكون مسألة متروكة للرئيس المنتخب ومجلس الوزراء الحيتين بتوقن بحسب الانتخابات اللي هتصدر النتائج بتاعه في 2024. بعد ده ممكن يدعوا بقى القوانين اللي لسه ما اكتملت. ده في الفترة ده ممكن المجلس التشريعي يقول ومن هسه يبدأ يفكر في تعداد السكان يفكر في عودة النازحين والعائدين البرة من السودان عشان بعد ذاك فيما بعد تقام انتخابات بتاع مجلس التشريعي ومجلس الولايات. So ده هو الأهمية. بنقول إنه مهما كانت الظروف حتى نهاية هذا العام على الأقل 3 انتخابات دي تقام: انتخابات رئيس الجمهورية، انتخابات الحكام 10 والمناطق الإدارية والمحافظين. ده لازم تقام. عشان كده نحن كشعب بتاع جنوب السودان نعيد أنفسنا في إنه في انتخابات جاية وهتكون نزيهة بشفافية كامل، وأي زول هياخد فرصته. كان في رئاسة الجمهورية، كان في حاكم، كان في والي، والمسؤولين عن المناطق الإدارية الثلاثة. كومريد دوار، أنا ما أعرف لو عندك أي إضافة you can come in here.
Brother Madid, I can see
Yes.
our great guest here.
Yeah, before before you come in,
I may give him to introduce himself because so many people do not know him. We know him. Agany is a great man. So let him introduce himself first. I'll come after him. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, come on in, Agany. Welcome to join us.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for welcoming me. My name is Agany. I'm Executive Director of SEPO. At the same time, I'm one of the civil society delegates to the negotiated peace agreement since 2013. Until now, I sit at the Strategic Security Defense Board as a representative of the civil society. And also right now, I sit as a president of East African Civil Society Organizations. And I'd like to say Happy Easter to our honorable members, and welcome back after the long recess, and welcome back for the real marathon. And honorables, I'd like to say the upcoming period is a period of honesty, is a period of reality, is a period of standing for the country. We should really avoid manipulative politics of smearing things and here and there in order to survive. Honorables, we need to really stand up for the nation. This country is bigger than every philosophy and everything. The millions that have died with their blood is for us to have independent state. But this state, we should play around with it with the some smearing, and then تعرف سياسة الزمان الترابي ده حقنا تخليوني هاي مرقنا برا من سياسة الترابي فلسفة ترابية فلسفة عربية وحاجة جلابة ده نمرمينه هاي نجيبوا كابنات جنوب السودان مقابل السلام الجمهوري against our national anthem, and let's deliver this country to the state that we want. So for me, this is a call MPs. This coming period we are coming to the parliament is a real period to justify. Are you honorables for the Republic of South Sudan, for the blood of those that we lost that have brought the flag and that has made it? Or are we honorables that we want to just smear things while we see violence as the best option? We must speak out things that does not promote violence. We must speak out things that keep this country great. And we are a rich nation if we can tolerate, if we can stand on sincerity. That's my welcoming. After the Easter, welcome back. I've seen the opening. You are in the new building. We will join the talk together. So thank you. Let's join the conversation.
Thank you.
And bullets.
Thank you. Microphone back to you, honorable. Go ahead, ministers. Samuel. Let me mute you guys. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Agany. You are not new to me. We have shared a lot of conversation in several occasions.
Exactly.
Thank you for wishing us welcoming back from long recess. And of course, we have come back for a serious business. As you put it right, a representative of people like us, after coming back after opening of the session yesterday, but once by the president, it is always in everybody's mind that indeed serious business began, and we in our mind and in front of us, of course, are elections. Elections are the end game of all this that we are doing. We will not conclude anything without election, because the agreement we are implementing, the center of it at the end is the election. People of South Sudan and yourself representing them at the civil society organizations platform and let me say forum, they always tell us that you people open for us a way so that we can elect our leaders. If we still need you, we will elect you. If we want to change you, we'll bring our choice. So why not giving them right? Let them elect their leaders. And this is simple. It has happened in so many countries, by the way. Countries that have gone through such a situation we are in, they have done a partial election that are possible. And those complicated ones that are not possible are always left behind and be done later on. And then there's nothing impossible here. It will only be a matter of what is the size of constituencies? How many people in South Sudan that are going to be voting? So it can be determined, and especially with the president's elections, it's easy. It is South Sudanese that are electing their president. There's no specific constituency that need to be counted. It will be South Sudanese that can be registered to vote. Those who are eligible to vote in accordance to law can be registered and vote for their own president and other leaders like governors and county commissioners, because there are no specific how do you call them? Specific constituency. For us in the parliament, in the National Assembly, and other parliaments like Council of States and state assemblies, we need to have proper understanding. And again, I was happy when I saw your own proposal, the civil society organization proposals to the parties to the parties that are signatories to the agreement. It was very good. People should sit seriously and dialogue and put people of South Sudan and South Sudan first. Our interests must always come after, so that we can see what is the need of our people. So with dialogue, we see what will be the size of the assembly. This thing can be done in order for us to go to the time we shall go for election. There's nothing impossible. If assembly can be flooded to be 550 because we need peace, then why can we not do the same? When we went for election in 2010, we came to Juba Parliament. We were 171. We were 170 actually. One person came after a certain constituency, went and changed in Khartoum and brought back to Juba. So it became 171. Now we had also 96 in Khartoum, and then of course plus 66 of the president during the passing of the transitional constitution of the Republic of South Sudan. So those one were the only electorates. I mean the representatives. They were the representative of South Sudan that were there, and all areas were represented. There's no any area that was not represented. For you now to argue that we should have this number of MPs to be added so that the other areas are covered. All South Sudan were counted where we actually went for election, and we had representation from all over. So if we can reduce this number, the 500, say 650, to at least 372. I mean, if you have 382, if you have 15 council of state and 332 in National Assembly, it will be 382. That would be reasonable. And then we go and pass the permanent constitution, conduct population census, and then we see what are the constituencies that we have in South Sudan. Those things can be done. There's nothing big to us. So that is one. I think my friend spoke about it at length earlier. I want to capture the other important aspect of the president opening speech.
Okay. What happened is they're having a network issues up there.
Abraham, is it possible for me to come?
Sorry?
Okay, you
Can I, honorables, can I come in before the speech of the president?
Oh, yes. Go ahead, yes.
Okay, thank you, honorables. I had you, honorable. I had Honorable Oliver Mori in his statement. I have key messages that I want to start with, and then I'll go for my analysis of some of the proposals that you have been talking about in Honorable Mori. My first message, honorables, and if it's possible, if two of you can act on that, I will appreciate and God will bless you, and that will be respect to our flag and respect to our national anthem. If you can raise a motion in the parliament that let us have an inclusive political parties dialogue. Honestly, yes, the level of mistrust and the deficit in confidence among the parties is very high. And some of those mistrust, lack of confidence, are on personalities. And clearly, I'll tell you, is justified by the defections. You may undermine these defections, but this defection may trigger certain parts of the country to violence. And that's why the best thing is that let's go for dialogue among ourselves as South Sudanese, where we can build a national consensus. Because by principle, even civil society, we want to see the election. Citizens are calling for the election for several reasons. Some of the reasons you have mentioned is the spending of the government, and the presidency, and the parliament. That one, everybody agrees on that. But the question comes is a process to achieve that goal. The call is through elections. And if the call is through elections, honorables, that's my first message, is that let us have a dialogue. So since you're from the SPLM, let's go for the dialogue. The dialogue is very important for this consensus. My second message, if we are trying to put any proposals, look beyond South Sudan, look at the regional. One thing I'd like to bring on the proposal of us going for executive elections, and I'm speaking to you right now, I'm a member of the East African Civil Society. As right now, I had this message of let's go for executive elections minus the legislative elections. This has implications on your presence in East African Parliament. Remember, East African Parliament subject its members. Any member without any legitimate parliament, those members will lose their membership. Look at that aspect. Yes, it may sound different, but look at that aspect. It has implications there. Also, you're putting president to a very awkward position. How does president operate with a parliament that is not in line with conformity of the ending of the agreement? And there's this concept that maybe the parliament can be appointed. It is contradict agreement. And you will have a lot of regional backlash. And look at African convention, African Charter on Democracy and Good Governance, where we're member to at the level of AU. There's implications there. And this can give anybody to subject the election of the president to a court, by the way. So for me, they call, and financially, honorables, the same logistics we wasted for executive elections, we're going to destroy, we're going to put another logistics for MPs. Why should we fear to go for both elections? If we can plan election for executive, what is it wrong not to plan election for legislative? First, that for me is an approach in terms of legality. It's very important, by the way, because you'll put His Excellency President to a very awkward position. And personally, I'm one of the person, I'll try my level best to meet His Excellency President. I'll tell President, never accept executive election minus parliament, because that contradicts the constitution, that contradicted the electoral law. The electoral law was saying South Sudan have to go for general election, not selective elections. Why should some people want to undermine the law that was passed by you honorables? It have legal implications. And if you go to East African Court of Justice, you may see it simple, because you see from a narrow point of view. from some of the honorables. Let's look, and that's why the dialogue is the best way forward. If we can reach a dialogue by consensus, that a South Sudanese in the dialogue, this is the way we need to go, that's the pathway that you can go, because it become a national consensus that's the best way we can go. And that's why I would like to appeal on a recognition that our call as civil society for political dialogue is the best. Let's dialogue among ourselves. And that should be an urgent one. Why I say urgent, honorable? On the 30th of April, which is coming now, international community is going to sit and decide. And some of us here were saying, we can undermine international community. We can't undermine them. We have certain pressure that will hold us somewhere. So let us show that primary responsibility that we're doing things the way we want, like the way of the unification of the forces. The forces first batch was graduated, but it's only 6% deployed the military. The police are not deployed, the national security, the fire brigades. Let us be honest to ourselves. So for me, honorable, my first message to you is that let us go for the dialogue. That dialogue will help and save the country. First, in principle, all of us agree, elections is a public call. It's not a call that we can compromise with. Why? Because it has huge benefits. But we need to prepare for that. So it's a process. Why do we need to have a dialogue? One, there's a 5 prerequisite. And personal, honorable, I'm talking to all of you, both of you, honorable Deng and Oliver Mori. I've been touring the region recently. I've been at the international committee level. We're able to convince even U.S. government. I was able to send the senators committee because of our appeal. That look here, we're a nation. We all agree on that. But if you see in every corner, everywhere where we go, normally people tell us that you as South Sudanese sit among yourselves, reach consensus in line of those things that the agreement proposed as a prerequisite. Some of them we can compromise. Some of them we can compromise with them. Some of them we can't compromise, but we need to reach consensus. Like what? The law you pass, it says elections will come after constitution, and you are our lawmakers. We need to reach consensus. How do we agree? Can we agree all the South Sudanese that look here? Let's go for elections while the Constitutional Review Commission takes its assignment. If reaching that dialogue and that position is an national consensus. The issue of the army, the security. If we also agree that no, look here, army is not compulsory. We have agreed. Let's go for elections. Let the army wait. That's a point of consensus. Population census is not so much tied with elections. Population census intentionally is meant for planning national budget or national cake. But let me give an example, honorables. Let's go now for population census as a prerequisite, and this is sometimes why I argue with their counterparts, the SPLMIO, that let us look at the beyond. And normal for me, I like when we're explaining things, let's look at the big picture of population census. Let's use population census right now for elections. Let's count the people. I will tell you the region of Upper Nile is going to lose so many constituencies because of the numbers they have on the ground. Why? Because Upper Nile region, its citizens were so much displaced. So the number of size of MPs in national parliament per the current population is going to reduce. Come to Central Equatoria. Central Equatoria is going to get massive representation. Why? You have IDPs around. You have people around Juba. The population of Central Equatoria is going to blow up and take chunk of share of that. So that is the reality of population size. Until refugees and IDPs are repatriated, that is it. That's just from argument around the population census that we can use. So there we can compromise. Why? Because it has implications. Even if you call for it and if you use it now, some people are going to lose their seats. Why? Because a physical presence and Upper Nile is going to suffer a lot. That's the reality. That's the reality that I would like to bring forward. The second thing I'd like to bring forward is that also let us come to the issue of the geographical constituency. The law you passed, if you look at it, honorable, legally, the electoral law, it have problem with the constituency. It gives you certain percentage of 0.5. There's nobody who's called 0.5. So there's a need for us to go for dialogue, and we see the middle ground. Where are we with regard to the elections? And I think for me, the best thing that right now, honorables, if we are to take a really serious ground, let's go for the dialogue. That dialogue, we can reach some certain consensus, and those consensus represent South Sudan. And those consensus will be respected at the regional and international level. That once we agree, we say we need to go for elections minus this prerequisite, than explaining it as individuals or in a purpose that there's no consensus. Why? Because it opens a window. So for me, that's the principle I like to bring. The second thing, honorables, I like to bring forward is that we are facing, for us, for example, I'm a civil society leader. I sit at East African Civil Society desk. Whenever I face our counterparts, the East Africans, the Ugandans, the Kenyans, and the rest, they will tell us that you are saying you are going to go for elections, but your civic and political space is so shrinking. Look at the arrest of Callisto at a mayor case. Mayor case. Why do you want to commit such crime of picking a former mayor because you made a statement? And there's so many people who made some similar statements and not be detained. So there's a lot of mistakes that we're doing that actually and are not necessary for us to commit, but it is shaping the image of our country. And that's why, as a lawmakers, we beg you that it is your responsibility because you represent us. It is you right now to decide. In terms of principle, elections, everybody agree on it. But there are some certain areas, let us go for a dialogue. We reach as a nation, we say as a nation that, okay, look here, as a nation, here is what the agreement say. Here is what we have committed ourselves in the agreement. But here is the reality, because reality sometimes determine things. The reality is that the time now we have towards December is going to be a tight time. How do you go about with it? The preconditions. Some of them, as I said, we can compromise, some of them we cannot compromise. How do you go about with the law since the law called for constitution? How do you go about with the law since the law have added the constituency to the level that we cannot draw new constituency? So should we go, for example, this is a proposal. Honorable, we have a civil society, we have did proposals. Should we go and consider 2008 population census, or should we go for the previous constituencies that we have? Or should we have a new formula? For example, we have created two scenarios. Scenario one, take the newly created constituency, 158 constituency, divide by the population of 2008. It gives a national dividend. Use that national dividend to multiply the constituency. Very easy. You can multiply. Even you don't need to go for population census. But all these require us to go for a dialogue. We agree among ourselves that, look here, as South Sudanese, here is a reality. Here is what the law says. But also, if we undermine the reality, here are the consequences. If we agree on this, here are the benefits. If we can use that approach, we can come to. Because one of the things I'm a bit worried about, honorables, as the law says, as you have said, let's reduce the presidency, the president and first vice president, which all of us agree on that. Let's reduce the parliament, 550 to 332, which is almost 50%. We agree on that. Let's put the Council of State to 50. We agree on that. But the politicians without a political seat, they don't consider there is a politics. We're going to have among yourselves defections, among yourselves, even what Honorable Mori was saying, that some people are believing that, no, the reality is, if you're a politician, you have to calculate your way to survive. So some people believe that their survival is through the bush. So we're going to have a headache. Look at the 2 weeks. The 2 weeks which before the parliament's open, Honorable Deng, and I'm quite sure I respect you. I know you are so keen in following things, Honorable Deng. And as you said, we have interacted with you in several platforms. Look the last 2 weeks, look at the factions. And look at the language among South Sudanese in the social media platform. And I'm quite sure even in the parliament, you might have interacted among yourselves. Look at the state level. People are looking for where the queue is short. We're not looking for political ideology. We're not looking for the country. Ita kana saf de to will gidamak wala kerenem silanas dibe na glano lona maselo ana bukun gerible saf. Because if the queue is long, you defect from A, you want to go to B, because in the B, if you defect, you will jump the queue, you become closer to the next powers. These things are going to happen. It's going to go, and the only way as a parliamentarians you can save us if we go for dialogue and we agree among ourselves that, look here, 1, 2, 3 is what we have agreed as South Sudanese. The way forward, 1, 2, 3 by consensus is this. That is a clean way. Nobody will blame. But of course, I still keep on repeating this, Honorable Deng and Oliver. Your generation is a generation that we could have been proud of. Why? Your generation have few schools. Most of you are either colleagues in Juba Commercial or colleagues in Rumbek or colleagues in local or colleagues, but the generation is more divided in administering the affairs of the country. That's an unfortunate thing. And you start wondering why. Your generation that have few schools are more divided in looking at the country. Some of you are looking for the country tribally, some of you are looking at it regionally, some of you are looking at the cliques of friends. We are wondering. We wish your generation could have been the blessed generation. With a few schools, you could have really fixed this country and you could have handed over to our generation with jubilation, honestly. We could have said, Honorable Deng and Oliver Mori, God let bless you. Wherever you're going to go after the end of your life, you have made us proud of your generation. But unfortunately, because Honorable Deng, why I say so? I did my own research. If you look at the current parliament, most of this current parliament are either Rubek students, are either local students, are either Juba commercial students, are either, those secondary schools, you know them very well, up to Upper Nile. Most of you are friends. But unfortunately, you are so divided politically, you are so tribal, you are so regional, and some of you are buying power by making arguments that are false arguments that does not match with the law. Why all that, Honorable Deng and Oliver Mori? Why do you want to leave books that quote your names, not on reality? And most of you are educated. Most of you are from seminary, religious background. So for me, please, my message, Honorable Deng and Oliver, from this discussion, let God bless this discussion that you, tomorrow, I know, on Monday there's a motion in the parliament. Raise a motion, let's go for dialogue. We will respect your age, we will respect your contribution, and books we'll put your names on the top of those who we think is there. Because where we are now, the road is not okay. The road is rough. Honorable Deng and Mori, Oliver, we have seen the defections. We have seen how the social media is speaking among South Sudanese honorables. We are aware, even when the parliament was open, we can see the level of tension among yourselves because of the political colors. SPLM say we're going to go for elections. IO was saying we're not going to go for elections because of prerequisite. And these are all South Sudanese. And these are friends. That's why sometimes there's this political proverb. Nasal beako fi sahan al-wahid lo telef ikhtilafa gumde batal bedirja bay. And these things that you disagree in the SPLM plate and now you create several SPLM wings, it is worse, it's making the country subject for suffering. Thank you very much.
I knew you were coming to interject that way. Thank you very much, Agany. You are so great. For sure, these things that we have today, the situation we are in now, with going for election, not going for election, it will be, I think it will be solved during the dialogue. You put it right. I agree with you. A country needs dialogue. Leave that dialogue that has happened, and it has been watered down by so many things. It was overshadowed by so many other things. But political party dialogue is actually the one that is needed. This should have been the first thing to be done, because who is having problem now? Are the political parties, are the political force that are having problem. The people of South Sudan, the normal citizen of South Sudan, what they need, they have no any idea of power sharing and all and power and the leadership. What they need is their own services. Put food on the table. You see, and then let their children go to school, go to hospital, and they have road to access market and all these things. But political parties are the problem. So we need the political parties dialogue. You are right. I agree with you. This is what you have started and should be carried forward from that time. You people have made some proposals. The proposals were very good, and the political parties should also take up from there. And I think by doing so, so many things will be discussed, and the doubt that remains always ringing in the minds of so many people will be eliminated, and we will come together. There's nothing big that we cannot achieve, and when we sit together, as you put it right, we eat together, we stay together. We differ when we are sharing the power, and then what is it? Why don't we put our interests of sharing powers behind and take the interest of people of South Sudan? Exactly. I, for one, I agree with you 100%. We must go for election, and we must dialogue to each another, to one another, so that we don't need to bring all this the cloudy atmosphere that is on the politics to the elections. That election will be just like a throwing thing into the fire. But we, God forbid, we don't want to speculate such a things. We want always to expect something good to come out from election, and this is going to be done by going for dialogue first. We should go for dialogue among ourselves. We say, look, South Sudan is big for all of us. When I lose, let me accept. When you lose, please accept. Then and we go forward for election. Yes, there are issues that are going to be so difficult to undertake in the elections. This number that we have now in the parliament, everyone would want now to go and contest election, which is very good, which is not bad. But where are the constituencies? That is a problem. The constituencies of 2008, Agany, you will agree with me, that apportionment of a certain number given to this state and give that one to these states were not actually, even South Sudan, you don't believe that these were the numbers.
The actual constituency, yeah.
But we can also do another way. If we dialogue and we agree among ourselves that this is what we have agreed, that the modalities, I mean, the way forward to identify constituencies for South Sudan, for these 332 representatives, is to count people, to count those who are going to vote, the voters.
Exactly.
And then now you divide into this number and get the constituencies. We will still find a solution. There will be nothing difficult that cannot be gotten. So it's only that we don't sit and talk to one another. Everyone would want now to declare their own position in wherever they are. Everyone want to keep in their own comfort zones. You don't want to reach out. That is a problem. When we reach out, I think we'll be able now to find a headway, and the thing will be easy. Now the speech of the president will be discussed on Monday. If it is not, I did not see the agenda of Monday today, but I should believe that the speech of the president is coming on Monday. When it is coming on Monday, we will dwell on this issue of dialogue and elections. We will discuss, because yes, it has come from his speech that people must go for 2024 December elections, and people must unite. How do you unite? You unite through election, through dialogue. You dialogue and unite, and you go for election united. So we will discuss this definitely, and thank you also for reminding us that you send that powerful appeal to the representatives of people of South Sudan, that you should advocate for political parties dialogue, so that you harmonize your positions, you go for election once you are brothers and sisters. So thank you very much. This is understanding. It is going very well with us. I am not talking only as SPLM, but talking also as somebody who is representing my constituency, a constituency that want to prosper, constituency that would want their children to go to school freely without any hindrance in their own security, constituency that want food on the table for their own people. So I really appreciate the position of the civil society organization and yourself, the SEPO, Edmond Yakani. So if we have this understanding, all of us, for sure we are going to reach a consensus during that dialogue, and we shall do what people of South Sudan want. Thank you very much. I can throw it back to Medit. If my friend here can also have something.
Yeah. He's our referee before. I know him very well.
Yeah. Honorable Mori just weigh in as well.
Exactly. He was a referee now. He's refereeing the parliament, from football to the parliament. I know him, Oliver.
أخي إدمون، كل ما ذكرت نرحب به كأعضاء في مجلس التشريع، وعندما نتحدث في مداولات البرلمان بتختلف عن إجراء اللقاءات مثل ما الذي أمامنا الآن. We are not here in the mass media. This is the forum, sometimes where you can call it a forum of agitation. And it is a right of everybody, by the way, to agitate if you get the opportunity of the mass media. But when we go to parliament, we don't agitate. We pick issues as they appear on the agenda. وانت ذكرت تماما وانا موافق ومتفق معك انه التوافق بين المجتمعات الجنوبيه واحزابهم المختلفه وحتى المعارضين خارج the revitalized peace agreement. Our efforts should be geared towards those who are not participants in the 2018 agreement. For the international community or the IGAD, I think their messages are very, very, very clear. They say, you talk among yourself as South Sudanese. Exactly. You know what is good for you as South Sudanese. Whatever you have reached and consensus over it, they will accept it. As when we had the agreement, and it was elapsing a year and a quarter ago, the parties dialogue among themselves, and they said, okay, let us have the roadmap. And indeed, we said the roadmap is going to be for 2 years. Was there anybody from IGAD or the international community who said, no, Southerners, you don't do that? On the contrary, they encourage us that you South Sudanese, you know your issues better than we do. So now, what we are saying, even in these partial consensus elections for the executives only, it is not a position of imposing an opinion to anybody. We have just thrown it into the air
For discussion.
for all the other party stakeholders, of which I'm sure, as we are now talking in this forum, these parties are also going ahead. There's already a dialogue among themselves. Our real problem is you and us. What is our role? You and us. To talk to our friends, our brothers who are not part of the path we have already taken. I think this is the issue all of us need to address. The second issue for you and us is that what role can we play to convince the international community or the UN that this embargo on South Sudan causes more harm in implementation of the agreement than making it workable? This is a role requested of all of us as South Sudanese. As dialogue is concerned, all of us, we agree for that dialogue. But in that dialogue, how do we bring in those of Nasemalo, those of Nastoma Cirilo, and the rest? This is really an issue. We need to tackle it. And for you as civil society, I know your hands are long enough with your ears and eyes to some of these partners from the international community. It is not what we talk here in the media, but it's what we talk with them when we meet them in our offices or in our rooms. What do we tell them? Do we really tell them the same message that yes, as what we are now talking in the media? I am afraid we are not united there. When we talk here on the mass media, we give something else. And when we talk with other circles, we pass a contrary view. For instance, let me tell you, for instance, in central Equatoria, or Juba County for that matter, how logical is it that Juba County with 13 payams is amalgamated as one constituency? Where you find in other places, whether in central Equatoria or out, places which we can hear in central Equatoria, payams and bomas in other places are equated to counties. This is why we say, let us go first for these partial executive elections of the presidency, the governorship, and maybe get me well, and maybe the counties. Why I say maybe? Because I don't agree that actually there is fairness in the naming of all these counties. When we talk about Juba County, population-wise and area-wise. So as parliamentarians, we tackle issues one by one. What is our priority? We feel our priority now is really to have one elected president first, to have elected governors, and thereafter we'll sit with them now to answer some of these domestic issues which are affecting the various states in the Republic of South Sudan. Especially I think the issue of Juba County. Do you really, in your own sense, can you believe that Juba County in its vicinity now, can it be called a county? To me, it is more than that. But this is not the time. We cannot tackle all those issues at a go. Coming a little bit out from this issue of opening the parliament, the national legislature, في كان برضو أشياء مهمة ظهرت وحقه ندي لكل زول ذو حقه. مثلا في البرلمان اليوم، وأنا متأكد أنت واحد من الناس اللي زرت البرلمان بتوافقني إنه فعلا حصل فيه تحسنات في داخل البرلمان وفي القاع، وإن شاء الله أدعوك يوم الاثنين تعال شوف القاع القديمة ذاته بتاع البرلمان، حصل فيه تحسنات ما تتخيلها. دي برضو نقول دي حقيقة. It is part of infrastructural development, which we also give credit to the government and the speaker for that matter, because they have exerted some efforts in doing that. Thirdly, maybe we are now running short of time. Our controller is watching at us. I think it is high time also we have to appreciate our president, Comrade Salva Kiir Mayardit, for the efforts he has been doing. And up to now, I think, and all of you will recall that President Salva Kiir Mayardit did not come as a president out of the blue. It was in this very lax state where this program is now being aired, when all the leadership of the SPLA, the so-called group by then and the Rumbek group by then, came together. It was in Rumbek, and they agreed through dialogue to come and be united again. And it was in this great town of Rumbek that our hero made the declaration to all South Sudanese who were there, in that for any other reason, whatever should happen to him, you have your leader here, Comrade Salva Kiir Mayardit. And that was in 2004, even before the CPA. As if he was predicting his own death. And sometimes people of that caliber, like Comrade John, Darren Mambio, God rest his soul in peace, at times he talks in response to what might have come to him as a dream from God. And indeed, when that misfortune happened, after the 21 days in the palace and the plane crashed and he perished, it did not take the people of South Sudan even an hour to say, okay, we have lost our leader. Who next? It was a consensus because of the dialogue in Rumbek that Salva is now our leader. And as the church puts it, he has now become our Joshua from that time and up to now. And I think with all the hurdles, with all the rebellions, with all the coup attempts, Salva was able to handle all those situations until we have reached today when we are talking to whether we should have election in December or not.
النتورك بتاع جوبا بدأ تاني مع الشكل بتاعه.
High time also, we need to honor our president.
Okay.
And how do we honor him? I'm not a military man and I have never been one. But I think for all those years from 83 up to now, in the struggle up to 2005, and from July 21st, when we miss Garen, Salva has been holding this country with both hands and a clean heart. How do we honor such a person? It is therefore my humble appeal to our South Sudan People's Armed Forces, and especially the elder son, who happens to be none other than Santino Deng, who is the chief of the general staff, for them really to sit down at that level of theirs and maybe also involve the various first lieutenant generals of the police, of the wildlife, of the prisons, that they sit. Because I have seen that as a journalist, I have seen that one of the things we Southerners misundertake is that if Salva is the commander-in-chief, Oliver Mori Benjamin is also another commander-in-chief. Why? Because they have the same rank, although only with the seniority. So is it not possible in the military sciences or in the military ranks to have something higher than the first lieutenant general? In books, we read there is a field marshal. Doesn't our president qualify for that, to give him as an honor for all this period that he has handled this country, and keeping on from time to time in any address, he will not miss the words, I will never take this country back to war.
Okay.
So there is room, Yakeni, you also try with your members of the civil society. I think it is better we promote Salva to a higher rank. And nobody will now also claim that he has also reached that rank. Because this is really our problem. What is it? I'm also a commander-in-chief. So when there is one Mushir and the other Ferigal Awal, the other Forog, the other Liwaat, or what, they know that in the Harithi, it is only that one. And this will suit very well with the elections. As we go to elect whoever will come as the president of the Republic of South Sudan, he should have a higher rank than any other organized forces rank which is existing now in South Sudan. This is food for thought for the organized forces, the people of the guns. They know themselves better and they know how to handle it. But I see that it is one of the ways we can honor our president. Like even in the educational field, there are those PhDs which you earn it by your sweat. But there are also those PhDs where others look at your performance and they say, no. I think Yekeni has done well. Let us honor him and let him have a PhD. And so he gets it, you see? So I believe Kir deserves more than that in this country. He deserves more than that. And we pray that God gives him good health and longer life to save the people of South Sudan. For the dialogue, we are with you, Yakani.
Okay.
Consensus. نحن متفقون على الوفاق بين كل الأحزاب ليختاروا ما يناسب شعب جمهورية جنوب السودان. إذا اتفقوا أن يكون هنالك انتخابات لرئيس الجمهورية فليكن. إذا اتفقوا أن يكون هنالك انتخابات لولاء فليكن. What is wrong? And who will come and tell us that no. You Southerners, you don't deserve that. It is our way. When we have agreed neither IGAD nor the international community have to say, no, you don't go that way. As what we are seeing in South Africa, in West Africa. You see the revolution of those countries.
Yeah, from prisoner to a president.
The reality, they say, okay, let us leave them alone. So I'm sure when we have agreed, even if they are now saying this embargo, it will come to their sense one day that no, enough is enough. Let us leave these people and give them what they have asked for. So let us all join hands together as we are joining in dialogue to talk to our international partners. This arms embargo and individuals be targeted as an embargo. Let them sue them to court and produce the charges against them. But you can't punish the whole country because of a person. Or how do you see it, Agany?
Let me come in here.
Indeed.
Abraham.
Yeah, go ahead, Ilman.
Yeah, let me come in here, and I would like to speak to hardcore issues. My honorable members of Parliament, with due respect and honor, the status that you are in, you are our representatives in the Parliament, and of course, being as a representatives, you are there for us to have a serious dialogue among us and our representatives, because we learn from the footsteps you have. So let me speak to hardcore issues first. Let me start with the question of the arms embargo. And I want to give you my own experience. I've traveled in so many platforms over these issues of arms embargo. This is what I've learned, Honorable Oliver Mori. The arms embargo, it is meaningless if we can deliver. There's 5 indicators. And those 5 indicators, personally, I've shared that with His Excellency President. What are the 5 indicators? Let me give you, for example. One indicator of the arms embargo, that the arms embargo will be lifted, because if you remember, the UN arms embargo have given 5 indicators, that those 5 indicators, if we fulfill them, the arms embargo will be lifted. And that's why sometimes I'm telling some people that, why do you want to give His Excellency President, who is our leader, always in his statement to pronounce the issue of the lifting of the arms embargo? We're supposed to do an action so that the President tells the world, I have delivered this action, I have delivered this action. Why again having it? What are the 5 actions, Honorable Oliver Mori and Deng? Yeah. Very simple action. And some of them have been delivering them, but because we're not reporting. And I want to give you my practical examples on this issue of arms embargo. How do we change the narrative? The narrative is not calling for it to be lifted. It's for us to work towards the 5 indicators. Indicator number 1, prevention of conflict-related sexual violence. Are we doing anything here? I'll give you indicators that there's something going on. Look at the military justice. The military justice have commissioned more than 9 courts, and I attended all those 9 courts, trying soldiers that have committed sexual violence against civilians. In Ye 3 times, Morobo once, in Melekal, in Bentiu. All their cases are successful. Those are the things that need to be reported. Then look here. Military justice have done 1, 2, 3 trials. Here are the cases, here are the people sentenced, and here are they undergoing their work, their punishment. That's a success story. That's indicator number 1. And this indicator falls under which ministry? Ministry of Gender, together with the Ministry of Interior and Defense. They form a committee, and they can report on those indicators that are going on. That look here, we are performing well, than only us beating the drums of lifting. That's indicator number 1. Indicator number 2 is storage and file of the military stock, which is very easy. Where are the stores? How do you file them? How do you get them? The disarmament? How do you record disarmament? We've been doing a lot of things there. So for me, with these 2 examples, out of the other 5, and I'm ready to prevent the 5, is that we are wasting a lot of time in making a statement of the President calling for the lifting of arms embargo than mentioning the actions that answer the indicators. As I say, there are positive things being done, but our reporting is very poor because technocrats are not providing those reports to His Excellency President. If those indicators are provided, you can realize that there's a progress. And that's sometimes when we meet with the people who are diplomats, when we show them, say, but why are your government silent on this? What is the problem? The problem that the technocrats are not producing the things because we like this language of beating. And by the way, Honorable Oliver Mori and Deng, We should not use the experience of Sudan's call for arms embargo which apply in South Sudan. That copy and paste is not good. We need to look into the five. And actually, one of the things I will propose, you are the ruling party, the gutter is under you. The government is supposed to work to establish a committee working towards the lifting of the arms embargo. And this committee have to see the indicators. And the committee have to collect reports that are happening in the country against those indicators. That's works on arms embargo. Why was it imposed? It was imposed because to prevent the massive coming out of people. And look at its implication when it came up. You can see the latest what happened in US. So for me, you have responsibility to establish a complete government committee that works towards responding to the indicators for lifting the arms embargo. And some of those indicators already has action been registered. But because no reporting, no committee, we turn to be a political campaign, which for me, we're wasting our time. And that's what, for me, we are also putting our president, who is a symbol of the nation, to a very bad position, because we're supposed to have an arms embargo working committee for the lifting. And then we report about, are we meeting those indicators or not? Where are the practical examples that we have made those indicators? Those indicators, if you look at them, by now would have been somewhere, because it's a negotiation, it's a bargaining, as Oliver Mori have said, sometimes you agitate in order to negotiate. So the arms embargo is not an exercise where we need to make noisy. It is, if I'm asked to be a technical advisor to the government, my advice is that establish a committee that looks into the requirements for the lifting of the arms embargo and report against those requirements. You come to realize you have met some of these requirements, but there's no reporting and there's no proper work on that. Now, let me come to the scenario of where soldiers were graduated with the sticks. That day I was there in the graduation. One thing I challenge, I wish the government would have graduated their soldiers that comes from the government with the guns. All of them are with the sticks. All of them are sticks. Why? Because the level of mistrust, let us be honest, the level of mistrust among the political military elite leaders of South Sudan, it is not putting the nation first. Oliver, as you said, this is a culture that has been built. And from this point, I want to justify why dialogue is very important. To be honest, between you, Honorable Oliver Mori and Honorable Deng, it will not be a surprise. When I leave my activism, I just jump to the bush of DRC Congo, get for me 3 PKMs of DRC, which have of a stay for a long time, wait for SPLK, shoot at it, and call IRED or call Miraya or call BBC or call VOA, and call myself Commander-in-Chief, text 6 times, call somebody, the president, and say, please, I'm tired, let's go for an agreement. Oliver Mori, you don't receive it as activist anymore. You receive it as a commander-in-chief and somebody. And now today, we don't have one. So for me, it's a question of us taking nationalism, taking a national stand. So these issues we're discussing, if we take a national stand and we value the nation, is very important. Let me give indicators of how dialogue have helped us South Sudanese to sort out. Remember, as SPLM, you have seen in the history of SPLM how much dialogue have built consensus when almost the movement is collapsing in the struggle. First, you go to Wunlit. Wunlit was a breakthrough, wasn't it? It was a breakthrough. What's Wunlit? It's a dialogue. Well, and then remember the level of divides among South Sudanese prior Wunlit dialogue. It was sharp, isn't it? But through dialogue, we have reached consensus because we make sense. We argue out without bullets. We see each other. That's number one. Number two, Number two, look at what was the dialogue in Chukudum. How much of it helped? Look at South dialogue when we're almost going towards the referendum. How many proliferation of militia groups? But how much of South dialogue neutralized that? Wasn't it the dialogue? It was dialogue. Look at Rumbek dialogue. All of you are aware. The level of grievances and tensions people have before Rumbek dialogue. Look at it. And the beginning of Rumbek dialogue, all of you know the minutes. Look at how tense, how bitter it is. But at the end of the day, we have reached consensus. Right now, we're in almost similar track record of history. If we now go for an inclusive dialogue, we reach consensus as South Sudanese. Bitterness is high. The country is more bigger than the bitterness that we have. If I really accept and I congratulate, I wish that all the parliamentarians on Monday, I know the agenda on Monday. I look at the agenda on Monday. I've shared with Abraham. I've seen the agenda on Monday. Yes, of course, always, whenever president open the parliament, the speech of the president have to be deliberated to be a policy. And their president said, let's go for elections. If honorables, you can raise and you can qualify an inclusive dialogue, will be better. Because that will be the turning stone. As you say, if we reach among ourselves, South Sudanese, consensus will be better. Now the question is, how do we involve the others? Simple. If we're going to go for dialogue, there's ethics for how do we dialogue. Reach out to them. How do we go for dialogue? And even I'm one of the person saying, look here, if they feel that they don't feel Juba secure, technology have not denied us anything. Where you are now, where I am now, we are not in the same roof, we are not in the same space. But through technology now we are talking. Can we apply technology to bring anybody in any part of the world to speak to us? Can we put them on a screen, even if they're not physical, that's in Juba? Can we have that? You know, we have a lot of potentiality in our hands. If we are to come to sense of that, look here, the option, let us talk to each other. The country is bigger. The political power is not ending today. It's a historical track of existence of South Sudan. Who is today a leader? Tomorrow, all of you, Honorable Deng and Honorable Mori, one time in history, you are either footballers or students somewhere, they are leaders before you in the parliament there. Today you are there. You are going to go, we are going to come there. We are going to go, generations behind are going to come there. If that's understanding that power is not a struggle, it's a question of a nature, it's a question of generation, it's a question of, it's a process. We can make consensus there. And the indicator I have right now is that I have documented every political party position. Right now, all political parties' position is that let's go for dialogue. And if you look at all religious institutions, the Muslims on the rallying out of the Ramadan, they have called politicians go for dialogue. They all religious leaders, being it primate, being it cardinal, they have called let's go for dialogue. As civil servants say, let's go for dialogue. I think right now, the option we have at hand, without justifying everything, without hardening everything, let's sit and let's talk. If we sit and we talk, and we make it more inclusive, without any restriction out of it, history have shown us that Rumbek have breakthrough. Wunlet have made a breakthrough. South-South dialogue have made breakthrough. And remember, when we go for South-South dialogue, I remember, I'm to be honest, there's some SPLM members who are so radical against the president. President imposed. He said, look here, these are brothers. Time has come for us to decide destiny. How much you are radical with them? I remember there was a battle. I remember. That time I was still working with civil society. I remember prior to elections, I was keen. Following this, there were SPLM members who are radical against the president, not to entertain this thing of bringing late Polino Matip and the rest of Tangenyang and all this to a dialogue. They were saying, don't, even some of them were saying, if you go forward, we're going to go opposite. But look at the consequences. It was so positive that we were able to go and vote for our referendum. And even they were able to appreciate that, thank you very much for bringing this dialogue. I can, wala lokan ma warde, can't be soft. They could have spoiled for us, by the way. It's the same thing. These elections, if we don't reach national consensus, honorables, this is my fear. These elections may trigger something that, again, the same experience I got of in 2013. The political statement we have now, and honorables, I'm speaking this from this background. I tour all of this country. I've been at the center of mediating communal violence. The worst part is now here. We are losing the sense of being South Sudanese so fast. To what? To communities, to tribes. You see, the way you argue in the parliament, sometimes interpretation out here, people look without knowing that this is an intellectual expressing his opinion to the country. So we have people who are outside there that are waiting for every single statement of anybody. Instead of looking at the substance of your statement, they want to look where you're coming from. Whether your idea is good, is bad, because you come from there, your idea is bad, even if your idea is good. And this is reflected by the defections I'm having now. This defection, we may undermine them, but this defection can create a bitterness. Look at the example of Clement Borough Bridge in Wow. Look at what's going on now between Apuk and Ju River, the Marielwa. Look at what's developing between Lakes and Warap. Look at what's going on around your constituency, Mori, in Central Equatoria. Look at the arrest of Callisto now have turned everything to become completely different. People are not arguing on issues, people are not arguing on ethnicity, on why is this happening. Almost everywhere, the country, and that's why, honorables, our assessment of civil society is that if we don't reach proper consensus, these elections at national level is okay, but at states level is going to be so much violent that some conflict Juba will not control. Let me give an example. Kede kena kundu kursi wide best kurista governor fi wilaya na gura jada intekabar le kurista governor best wide de Let us not use other states, Oliver. My honorable, because you represent my constituents. Let me speak between me and you in constituents. I know Deng nationally we can speak over, but I'm talking to honorable a Central Equatorial constituency. Oliver, let us put the seat of the government Central Equatorial State. Nyangbara Bekrai, that seat, and you know the candidates who are there for it. They want to come with the candidate. Moro want to come with the candidate. You political parties will put the candidates. But I will tell you, independent candidates are going to defeat the political party candidates. And when the independent candidates believe to the ethnicity of the grouping, when SPLM failed to put the argument you have about Juba County, why all is one constituency, you have somebody who come independent and say, why Juba County is this? He will take the votes regardless of how much money you will invest on red t-shirts, on everything. So for me, the dialogue is very important because that single seat we have won. People are going to compete. Go to all the states where we don't see in the states. We're not looking at as a sons of Central Equatorial State. We're looking at Denyangbara, de Kakwa, de Mundari, de Pojulu, de Mundo, de Sunu, de Kida. All of us, we want to see that single seat. There's no fallback position like a parliament. They can say, okay, let us agree consensus parties. And also, I want to communicate to you. Our assessment is that independent candidates for the seat of governorship, when they are more loyal to the communities, are going to be harder against party candidates. That's why when we go for dialogue, we gain a lot of opportunities of diffusing huge violence that are coming. That's what I like to say. Our dialogue with the friends. I want to share with both of you. I've been recently touring. I toured the international community. I went to US. I was in New York. I was in DC. I came back. I went to Nairobi. I came back. As I speak with you now, I just came back from Tanzania. I arrived Juba today this morning. And speaking to the leadership region at the regional level of East Africa. Everybody messages that South Sudanese, you sit, agree among yourselves. Whatever you agree among yourselves by consensus, nobody will oppose. That's the messages. That let us say. But some people still, as we speak now, between me and you, as we are here in consensus, there are some of honorables in the parliament, there are some of the people who are not honorable in the parliament against the dialogue that let us impose. You know, I want to share an example, Honorable Deng and Mori. I was hired to do an assessment of the Arab Spring. And my responsibility was given to look at the case studies of a few countries. I look at the case study of Libya, case study of Tunis, case study of Syria, and then the case study of Egypt. One thing I zero out of that, it is when you minimize the spirit of speaking among yourselves, then you impose something that denies that spirit of speaking among yourselves. The external players that want to jeopardize your growth take it as an advantage. Now, our absence of having a dialogue for reaching consensus for these elections will trigger other wars that you not blame IO, you not blame anybody. New players are going to come. Even not blame the whole out groups. Because the more ita lugar fi beta itu jaranat ita jaranal beta yomi mara uraje gadin chakolo bada the neighbors damal biashara shai leben in the name of mediation biya ku gidar in the name of mediation, so they will encourage you to continue always hitting each other because for them is an opportunity of drinking milk throughout. And that's what for me the best call we have now is just go for dialogue. So that's what I like to say. Speaking of some few things, Honorable Oliver Mori, I like to pick one thing that you have mentioned about the development of the parliament. I appreciate that, but this is also a clear proof. This is a clear proof to both of you, Honorable Mori and Honorable Deng, that when women are given the chance to lead, women makes development. How many men speakers were there? Men zaman lagu, wole du gubu the parliament. But now when you have a female speaker, fast female speaker, look at the parliament. I'm questioning even you sit comfortable. You know, you see when I read or capture the video, some people ask me, is this parliament in South Sudan? You say, yes, that's the parliament in South Sudan. But we give the reward to the female speaker. Lokan fi ranjil speaker bukan jubilan na jeta konyo-konyo den yare kibre-kibre. But at least a female speaker has proved to us that when women are given, and that's why we want to push that the Minister of Finance, can you give to the women? Your ruling party. If you're within your party premises and if there's a members around, tell them that please, men are advocating that let's hand over the finance to women. Maybe we see development of finance, the same development of parliament. And that's where when men is unable to do, women can do, and it's been proven in the parliament. And that's the message I want to convey, that when you impress women in leadership, they can make a difference. And today, as you said, Honorable Oliver, yes, we give thanks and we appreciate. The parliament looks nice now. When we go there to observe and we sit at the back, we feel, somebody asks where you say, I'm in my national parliament. If you bring Lagu, you go in now, on Monday, bring Lagu and Abelaler, tell them, look at this parliament. They will tell you, thank you very much. The outlook have changed from our time. The inner look have changed. That is what we count as a development. That is what South Sudanese want. And let me tell you, Honorable Oliver Mori and Honorable Deng, the development in the parliament speak louder than the speeches of opening the parliament. Because that's what people want. That development speak louder than the speeches. Every speech is delivered that day is not more important than the look of the parliament. If we translate that into schools, if we translate that into roads, if we translate that into protection of civilians, if we translate that into growth of democracy, South Sudan is rich. Will be case study. You see? So for me, the reality is that let us really commit ourselves to do what is required. Look at that. Yes, you may have implications around the construction of the parliament. Some people will always, there's no action of a human being that undergone without blame. Even Oliver, I'm sorry to use this, I know, Honorable Deng, even in the Bible, some of us have a question why Jesus went to pray on the last day when he knows that his time is coming to an end. Out of 12 disciples, he only took 3, pray with them in the mountain and come and blame the 9. Why are you sleeping? If I was among the 9, I would have asked them, Jesus, okay, if you, why do you leave us the 9 here to sleep? And you took the 3. Well, how nice are the 3? So this tells us that any human action, always blame will be attached. But at least let something convince generation to come that we have seen a new thing in our image of eyes. So for me, that's what I like to say. Yes, we can't undermine that. But for me, the improvement of the parliament is a clear proof when women are given chance to lead, they can make a difference. Look at general education. And unfortunately, some of the honorables in the parliament are threatening life of Aoud. I approached some of them who are threatening. I said, honorable, why are you threatening honorable Aoud? Look at the difference has made in general education. And it's one of the ministers that up to today have a foreign aid. The rest of the foreign aid was stopped. But at least general education right now is having foreign aid from British government. The money for the girls to school, the guess, is the only foreign aid aspect right now in the country we have since 2013. So for me, when we give ourselves time to do the real thing that citizens want, the bitterness will disappear. The bitterness comes when people are not doing the right thing that people want. You see? Yes, exactly. That is it. You see? That if you look at that parliament, everybody look, okay. At least the parliament is shining. So for me, that development inside the parliament is very important. That the same thing should be used for social services. The same thing should be used for political dialogue. And my appeal to you honorables, I would like to take this platform also. I know you are members of the ruling party, and I know sometimes sounds bad. Let us release Callisto. Yes, thank you, Abraham, for showing that big size of leadership we have. You know, if you count, let me tell you, I was doing a calculation, Abraham, and also with Deng and also with Oliver Mori. If we have elections that happen, and if the elections among consensus, we are saving this amount of money. We are saving at least monthly 10 primary schools under the cost of the presidency. I calculate how many V8s, each V8 takes how much fuel, how many Land Cruisers of protection, each Land Cruiser take what fuel, how many soldiers call protection team, those soldiers, how much are they fed, how many protocol officers, how many personal security personal officers, how many journalists. If you calculate those all, you reduce to 2, at least we have money that every month we can build 10 primary schools. This is minus the parliament. And of course, honorable, you know, you have 15,000, you have 20,000, you have 40,000. Yes, look at this. 550 plus 100, 650, and each of them need $15,000 or $20,000. If we reduce that, we will have at least after every 3 months, good, very nice hospital for citizens in the 10 states. Look at that gain if we're to go for elections. But we should go to elections by consensus, not by imposing. So that's a calculation we have done. We have reached that level. Looking into the numbers. The numbers is big. And the numbers can convince citizens and tell you, yake alega na bijeli kulu sita sur, tegriban talata musesfiat, asemin museswa juba, yake na bijeli fukulu shahar, tegriban asara madaris, asandri hasa kibir. So if we go by consensus, the votes we're going to vote is going to be a very radical vote. And we'll bring those who we feel stand for us, and we'll vote out. Those who we feel are not helping us. But unfortunately, and this is what I would like to bring forward, is that the size of the parliament takes 550. That should not encourage that we want to retain it. No way. No way. Lokan Fiteriga, we bring it back to 170. My constituency guy, we bring it back to small one because even 332 is too much, is too big. But still we continue. It's a development. We can't start it in one day. It's a process. Next time another law will be reduced to 13. Let me continue reducing. Like the maximum that we're okay with it. Say no. Look. So for me, that's the appeal. Honestly, that's the appeal, and that's the beauty that when we talk to each other, South Sudan will become the best, and the words of our national anthem will show generation to come that at least generation before us have done that. So for me, everything that we're discussing here, prerequisite need to be fulfilled. A conducive environment to be created. We cannot create them by sitting another position issuing this. And that's why sometimes I get embarrassed. I get disturbed when I see SPLM and SPLM countering each other on statements. I'm asking a Jama, bigger maturity when in. Do you tell the citizen that just your level of political maturity, your level of political discipline, have reached to level of only statements, counter statements? We categorically condemn, we're going to Jamana. Intellectual aspect is needed here. So for me, my appeal is that let's go for dialogue, and it's good enough that everybody have agreed on a dialogue. I saw Riak agree on dialogue. His Excellency First Vice President have agreed for dialogue. He put mediator inside it. At least now, SPLM have agreed for dialogue. Lam still is calling. Dr. Ramakol is calling for dialogue. Until now, there's an article of him for dialogue. Other political parties have called for dialogue. Religious have called for dialogue. Civil have called for dialogue. And what is it? It's maybe 2 days or 3 days talk. And we reach consensus. We argue on each other. Because sometimes, when you sit in your room alone and nobody gives you the other side of the story that you don't see, you feel you're right. But when you go for dialogue, somebody will remind you that, yes, practical, in ideal world, this is it. But in practical, this is it. Then you say, okay, where is the middle ground here? Close, chapter, close. We go for it. I remember in 2010, Honorable Oliver and Deng, I was leading one of the domestic observation called Sunday. We deploy over 7,000 domestic observers. In some states, we have to end up resolving problem. We're not electoral officers, but we have to help resolve problem. So they must say, okay, thank you very much. So I feel for me is that, in summary, if we agree that, and let me give you some positive implications if I go for the dialogue. One, if I go for the dialogue, if we go for it before 30th of April, and I want to put before Honorable Deng and Oliver Mori to take this timeline. This timeline is very important. We may not have opportunity to communicate, but this timeline, if you take it, very important, very important. Remember, on Monday, SRG is rendering a report to the Security Council. And I know now, National Election Commission and Political Parties Council have got money. That is one indicator that the Monday International Committee were asking the head of UNIMIS, have they put money? Always the answer is no. But this time he's going to tell them yes. At least check has been written to NEC and Political Parties Council. Now we have seen what we call a national funding have started. That's a positive gain. That will be on 15th. Now, there's these following meetings coming up. Likely on 13th or for 15th, IGAD is having Council of Ministers. IGAD Summit. There's an IGAD Summit, by the way, in Nairobi. So this IGAD Summit in Nairobi is specifically to address the question of South Sudan and Sudan. And now, as South Sudan, we have appointed our special envoy, Kurbandi, to Sudan as IGAD. So, as a ruling party members, what is your strategy towards the position of the president going for the IGAD Summit on the 13th or 15th, which is coming up summit? That summit, if the president would have gone to that summit while we are done with the dialogue or we pronounce dialogue, that could be a gain. That will have implications when IGAD say, okay, South Sudan is having a dialogue among themselves. Let's give them the opportunity on what concepts are they coming out with. That comes out of IGAD. That will help us where? That will help us informing the international community meeting, which is when? Is happening on the 30th of April in New York. So there's a lot of opportunities at hand, but we need to minimize mistakes of undermining those opportunities, that those opportunities could have been a U-turn opportunities. So for me, this is the practicality. If we are practical to ourselves, dialogue can break a lot of things. This dialogue must be inclusive. We give everybody to express opinion. We find a modality of how to bring everybody on board. And that is the way that His Excellency, as a symbol of the nation, need to carry. We need to minimize things that contributed to shrinking of civic and political space. People have to go, people have to express themselves. All those things, if we can tackle them in the dialogue, will be better. The enactment of National Security Act, that which is already in the parliament, Section 54, Section 55. If we can reach consensus in those things, believe me, the world will come back and clap for your hands. So why are we arguing too much and we don't excel? And that's why I agree with you, Honorable Deng and Honorable Mori, with respect that the confirmation that we are for the dialogue, because history has shown us that dialogue among ourselves, it saves our country and it brings us back to the world of the League of Nations. Wunlit has proved that. Chukudum have proved that. South Sudan have proved that. Rumbek have proved that. We can, even the agreement that we have, this peace agreement didn't come through anything, come through dialogue. How hard it is, but still we agree. And we're able to reduce the violence. So for me, that's the opportunity we need to put forward in terms of the call for that and the development of the parliament. My final point that I just want to raise it up is that as a members of ruling party, I wish we could have a member of IOA, Abraham, and SOA, and then FD, and then OPP. Banning
let us arrange the next show so that they can be on the board.
Exactly. One of the things that political parties need to discover is that, like, for example, right now, Honorable Oliver Mori, Honorable Deng, they are honorables. Those titles play a big role on any single statement they made. People will believe on it. Political parties need to be sensitive in using language. Language is a poison. Because this language from political parties, that it is language that send a signal of violence is the option. Remember, principals have been saying we will never return this country to war. Being it His Excellency President, even His Excellency First Vice President say, I'm here with all the conditions because for peace. That's what Dr. Yak must say. Everybody's saying we are here for peace. We don't go to war. But their subordinates below the principals issue statements and they're not held accountable. The statements that trigger is telling us like as if the principal have told them, you go and speak this language that take the country back to war. That's sometimes we're saying, Jama, have respect completely for your principles. So the principle of the political parties need to instill into their members culture of maturity and discipline. As a party, where is internal rules and regulations in terms of what statement do we make? What words do we send out to the public? Because I'll tell you, in the last 2 weeks, public lack of trust and confidence on elections is increasing. Why? Because of the counter statements that are coming. The incidents are coming. Look at what happened in Jongole. You were saying you are going to Twitch East County of Jongole, they are denied. SPLM are doing rally in Lankan, in Nero County, t-shirts were banned. And on the 22nd October 2022, the principal agree, let's open political space. But still there's a people who are subordinates, either party secretaries, party chairpersons at different levels, they're shrinking the space. And the principal say, allow everybody to exercise. But now you put your principal into an awkward position because subordinates are not held accountable. So for me, really, and honorables, please, I'm appealing also. I know, opportunity of being an honorable is bigger and it's good opportunity. Please, on Monday, this issue of political language, which is more centered on the elements of hate speech, hostile propaganda, and sending a message like as if the country is going to back to war, please raise that motions. Let us exercise language that shows we're matured and shows nation is above everything. So for me, that's my conclusion that I would conclude with is that you may be act as ambassador, maybe it's a blessing also, as our national anthem say. You may be given the opportunity, this platform, you'll take it back to the parliament. Let us see a change that give us open political space, everybody exercising whatever they want. Because President called, let's go for elections. And IO secretary, Regina was saying, her chair was detained, he cannot travel across the country. So it's honorables, the parliament, in the deliberative speech of the president, some of those things must be brought up. People are saying national security cannot arrest without warrant of arrest. Kaliso has been picked here. Let's tackle those things. These are minor things that can make us work. And the issue of arms embargo, let there be a working committee that help the president in establishing evidence of what the government is doing towards the indicators. As I say, some of them are already there. It's just because simply we don't track it. So for me, these are all opportunities that, Honorable Deng, if we really sit down and we speak to each other in a very sober way, our country is bigger and is rich. Like I was in Tanzania 2 days ago, I was telling people, you're calling for East African integration. Juba is already an integrated city. Ugandans are there, Kenyans are there, Somalis are there. Nobody restricts them. They are even running away with our economy. That's the concept of integration. But unfortunately, we are not prepared for that integration. We give them the chance not to take over. So soon our economy will be completely foreign control. So for me, dialogue is the best. I have nothing to call as a recommendation. Dialogue and dialogue and dialogue and dialogue. We will make a breakthrough. This headache will disappear. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If I think all this we will not have that might really to answer what have been brought about by Agany. Simply because Agany is actually has emphasized what we have already discussed before, and it is a good point, by the way. It's worth that was mentioning more than one time, because dialogue always solve problems among brothers and sisters, and when we can get consensus and get along together. This is an issue, a principle that you cannot deviate from it as a human being. Even in your own family, if you don't dialogue, then the family cannot get along. So dialogue is important. If there are no people with questions, Brother Abraham Madid, I think we are already getting into the limit of our time, because I was actually having another meeting at 7:30. I thought we would have come and finished from 5 to 6 something, and then we go and thing. So I am really very happy. We have benefited a lot from our civil society, view, and those are the things we need them. You see, we need each other. We need to tell you what we see civil society should do. You also need to tell us what you see we can do in the parliament, and from there we'll be able now to get on with issues, solving issues of our people and the country. It is true. At the end of the day, everything will finish through dialogue. There will be no anything. We will, however, we differ with issues at hand. We will one time sit down and dialogue, and the time has come for it. It may not be that far again as people were seeing it. We shall be sitting for it very soon, because everybody needs each other, and we need one another to go for the logical conclusions of the agreement implementation. It has not been implemented fully as people may be thinking, but at least we have relative comfort, and this is what we need. At least people are sleeping in their own houses, if I don't say naked, because nobody is hearing guns. Again, there are minor issues of unisolated incidences that happen, and these are the things that you cannot isolate them from where human beings are. And
exactly.
then you see, so such a thing, they will fade off, get away with cement the trust that we have today, and trust to one another, dialogue, and we get trust, and everything will go. We remain as South Sudanese. We have been like this from 1991. You know what happened? Yeah? We divided seriously along all those lines. But 2002, we came around the table and we dialogue, and we became one. You see, and we defeated the enemy plan, the counter plan that actually what made us to be like this. We came back again as South Sudanese, as SPLA, and we became strong until the enemy by then accepted us to go and sit on the table, and we negotiated in 2002 and 2003, 2004, and we concluded in 2005. So it was because South Sudanese came together. That's what delivered us the CPA. And it was again because we became together through South-South dialogue, as you said it. That's what brought about this country to be independent. If we are not together, wherever you see division, expect more problems. But wherever see us uniting, some people were saying, you see SPLM unite, they eat you. If you divide, they kill you. But that is not the issue. The issue has not become SPLM now. Even those who are not SPLM are now problem, by the way. So the issue is South Sudan now as a whole, as a country. People of South Sudan, we need to unite. We don't need to differ. Things that are in our hands are things that are issues that are necessary. I mean, simply can be resolved through dialogue and discussion. You just talk them out and find solutions. There's nothing big. I repeat that one. So thank you very much, Brother Madid. If we don't have anybody with a question so that we can answer those, I think our time has come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Deng Duwar and Honorable Oliver Mori. I have a question, and we have some 4 questions in the comment sections, and also for the clubhouse. Should anyone have a question, they will raise up their hand. The hand is already up there. But before I go to the comment section questions, I have a question to 3 of you. The question is going to be, are there foreign troops in our country, especially the Ugandan troops? And what is the purpose of bringing foreign troops in the country? That's my question to you. And I need to display the questions in the comment section for you guys to read, and you write down, say that once you come up later, you can just answer some of them or all of them at a go because of the time. We have Will Nyakong is asking you, do you think election will be free and fair, and why? The campaign is being done by only the one party, SPLM IG. Can you answer those questions? If you don't mind, please. And we have also from WB Libo Warile. He has a question. So what will be the legal quorum for your proposed partial election if constituencies are not drawn via census? I want the civil society guy to answer. That question is going direct to Edmund Yakani. The third one is from Boy Mayangkuch. He's asking, my question to Chairman of Civil Society, Mr. Edmund Yakani. Last time you admit, I think, or you admit head of state and were agree South Sudan people should for election before you narrative these challenges to our leadership. Like now, currently explaining challenges will face the citizens of this country. I think you will figure out the question there. Yakani is direct to you as well. The last one from the comment section is from Daniel Deng. What will be the difference of the current requesting dialogue and the former national dialogue? Will the exit of President Kiir and Vice President Dr. Machar be first agenda of the dialogue, or will the dialogue be resolving around transitions, extension, Kidit, and Machar government lifespan? Oh my goodness. All these are the questions to you guys to answer while we are waiting from the clubhouse to come in.
Yeah,
let me take first questions.
Yeah, before you go ahead, Honorable Duwar, let us give a chance to Honorable Manon. He's in clubhouse. so he can weigh in, and then you guys can go ahead and answer those questions. Manon, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. First of all, I want to greet Honorable Olber and Honorable Deng and Honorable Edmund, and my greeting also the Lake Media and the whole people who tune in, social media and Clubhouse. I guess listening from the discussion, and I do agree that the whole conversation came into dialogue, and political parties, the government, national unity, and the rest of political parties who are not the government. There is the necessary of need for the consensus and dialogue before the elections, and that would help with the agreeable proceed the process, the way how the election can be more free and fair and transparency. So when the result is out, they all would be happy to acknowledge the outcome of the result and avoid the violence for the country. I think I agree with that. And the other thing, being a lot of concern about it, is the National Legislative Assembly, which is actually proposed for election to be delayed. So my question is, if the current constitution-making process is not going to be materialized before the election, that the current constitution-making process commission will need to be enacted by an elected National Legislative Assembly. How that's going to work out if we don't conduct the National Legislative Assembly election in the country? Who is going to pass the constitution that we are working in, that the commission is working on that? Who is going to pass it without having a national election, national legislative elected to enact the permanent constitution after the election? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Manon. Now I can get my problem back to you, Honorable Duwar and Honorable Omir, so you guys can answer those two questions.
Thank you very much. We will divide questions among ourselves to answer them. Let me begin with what Manon just finalized asking. Comrade Manon, this is me, Honorable Samuel Duwar, and I greet you and I greet people who are listening from Clubhouse. This is very important for us. This is a start of dialogue. When we speak to one another like this, we are speaking to the minds and hearts of each and every one. You see, there's no legal vacuum here. Once we say we want to go for elections, already we have this transitional constitution of the Republic of South Sudan, national constitution, the transitional national constitution of the Republic of South Sudan, 2011, as amended. So several amendments that happened as a result of so many agreements, the agreement of 2015, the one of 2018, and so forth, were also incorporated, and therefore the law was amended several times. So that law is still supreme, and it can actually do whatever we want to do. The permanent constitutions that everyone is expecting can later on come. It does not completely have an impact to the elections. If we want to conduct election can still go. And then when we elect representatives, the assembly that will come later on can still come and do the permanent constitution that we want. Why do we want to rush? Constitutional making process can take with us, if not 2 years, it will not be less than 1.5 years. You see, to conclude. So this process doesn't want us to be rushing for it. If one may ask, what is the problem? Why do we have to rush the permanent constitution? Is it because to have electorals electing their leaders, or is it because to have an assembly that is elected by people? You see, no. But there are so many questions that you can ask. But for me, Manon and the rest, the constitution we have now can cater for election, and we can have an assembly that will be elected by people to come and do the other one. As how do you have to have the parliament that has not been elected by people? You see, this is why we say there has to be a dialogue. What are we going to put in place? What are we going to be agreeing as people of South Sudan to have the parliament? If we have said we have divided the election to be done partially, to have an executive election, that is, if that is what is going to be accepted by people later on, by the political parties. In this case, it will not be people dialoguing like what happened. Somebody asked the question there, that what will be a difference between the first national dialogue and the dialogue that is proposed to come. You see, this one will be political parties dialogue. The first one was national dialogue. There are slight difference here. The political parties dialogue is to harmonize the understanding, to make people, you see, come together and get into one understanding, to say, look here, South Sudan is bigger than what is our interest is. So let's go leave alone whatever one thinks, and let's come together and go for election. Now that is about the elections. Somebody was asking. Now somebody was asking about the foreign troops, and I think it was in the studio here. To answer this question, of course, the answer is obvious. No, there are no foreign troops in the country. And there's no need for foreign troops even. You see, as member of parliament, any coming in of foreign troops, it is a big thing. It has to be tabled to the parliament. It means the country is at war with other country, and then when you launch a war as a country, you have to take that one to the parliament, to approve it, and then you go for war. There's no war South Sudan is going to, and therefore there's no need for foreign troops in the country. So there's no foreign troop completely. These are the social media issues that are people trying to do what I don't know, and it has not come to my mind, and I have not heard it. I have just been getting it in the social media. There are no foreign troops, and we shall not call for foreign troops, because we have enough troops with us in the country. If we want to do anything with troops, if there are issues, then our troops are enough to defend our country. So there are no foreign troops. Thank you very much. My brother can pick it up from there and answer the other one. Yeah.
Once again, Comrade Abraham Madid, we thank you very much for hosting three of us in this forum. This dialogue comes from the address of the President to the National Legislature on the 3rd of April. And as we have been talking, it is a fact that the process of elections in 2024 December had some difficulties. This was why, from the beginning, if you will follow, we had said, to avoid all this, let us divide the election processes into phases. And phase one will be the elections of the executive. That is the president and the governors. And if need be, and I want to repeat, if need be, we can have elections for the commissioners. This is because in the commissioners, because of the variance, I had earlier explained during our discussion. And these three categories, the president, the governors, and the commissioners, if need be, does not require really some of the issues we are talking about, demarcation, about permanent constitution, and others. This is why we say there have to be phases. And then all in all, these ideas, even of the phases, has to be brought to the parties, to the agreement, to have dialogue over it, as they did for the extension of the 2 years and the roadmap. These are just ideas thrown for the party stakeholders to debate and have dialogue among them. And this is actually what even the revitalized agreement is talking all about, in that if the signatories to the agreement have agreed by consensus on whatever is to be done, then it will be done and nobody will say no. So we are really emphasizing on the fact that the elections have to go in phases, at least 2 phases. Now, why are we delaying the geographical constituencies or the other constituencies to be held later on? This is because we know that to demarcate constituencies is not a simple thing. You first have to determine the number of population for each constituency. Is it workable or not? We have our refugees. Shall we consider them as voting from abroad or not? There are a lot of complications there. And these are things which need to be discussed with cold mind. The third reason why we say there have to be elections, because even our brother Kenny will agree with us in that the expenditure on the presidency, on the cabinet, on the parliament, and the council of state is really draining a lot of resources of this country, some of this money, which we can take to build some schools, dispensaries, and even roads. And why we say also we need to have elections, especially for the presidency, to avoid this rivalry always for the top job, each person wanting to be the president. And in fact, the quarrels, I'm just repeating because I have already said it, that even in the bush, the 91 rebelled, people going to Khartoum and coming back and so on. What was it? It was the leadership of the movement. And 2013, when they were even one SPLM, why did they differ? Even in the voting for Nyokuren, because somebody felt I have to be the chairman of SPLM, and consequently, I will be the flag bearer for the elections and the president of the Republic of South Sudan. So you will really agree with me that the first cause of conflict in the Republic of South Sudan is the greatest rivalry for the position of the president. And this is why we say, let us give it a chance, a priority, not a chance, a priority, so that the people of South Sudan decide on who will be their president. Now, this question of the troops, that they are Ugandan troops, we read it in the social media. They are going to be paid 2,000 and 1,000 for medication and so on. If you follow this issue carefully And as the dialogue is starting, always you will find some people who will come up to oppose this dialogue by creating wild rumors like this one. And this one takes us also back to 1964 when Clement was met as the Minister of Interior. And that bomb was thrown in Khartoum. Galita confident was it Kalas intact? And people went on riots. At the end, there was nothing of the sort. So when they heard of this idea, some people, when they heard of this idea that we are going to have elections for the presidency, and they don't want it, other groups will not like these elections to be run. Oh, it's a confident. Makanas diabu just Uganda, it is just to confuse, to agitate the mentality of the simple men in South Sudan. I bet anybody to come forward and tell me, Mori, I have seen these soldiers. They were flown in by plane or they were brought by cars and they are parked in this place and I have seen them. If there is anybody who has seen that, he should come forward and bring us concrete evidence. And now that the parliament is open, we are ready to raise such motions in parliament with evidence and summon the Minister of Defense to come and tell the parliament that you have done this and you have brought forces. But to the best of our knowledge, as we speak now, there is nothing of the sort. These are only rumors meant to spoil the thinking of the people of South Sudan. There is nothing like that. And I'm betting anybody who has seen these soldiers where they are, or who have seen the copy of the agreement signed bringing these people to South Sudan, let them bring it to us in the parliament and we raise a motion. We don't act on rumors. We are no rumor mongers in parliament. But when something is substantiated, we will not hesitate to raise it up in parliament. So there is nothing actually saying there are troops from Uganda who have been brought now to South Sudan. No, and it is a big no. The final point I want to comment on is really, let us safeguard this dialogue, which three of us here, Agany, Duwar, and myself, have agreed that let us give dialogue a chance to the stakeholders of the revitalized agreement. And if need be, even co-opt some members who are not. And give also priority. It is good that from Rome, Nairobi now has been proposed to be the area to hold this dialogue with the fallout groups of Nastomas and
close that one. Yeah, there is echo.
Yeah, close that.
I have actually muted.
So that is very, 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 very important. The dialogue must not be confined to us only here from within. We want this dialogue to be extended to the opposition group. Because here inside, we are all one, whether SPLM or SPLM-IO. We are eating from the same plate of the government of the Republic of South Sudan. So there is no question of an opposition. Because the meaning of opposition is that you are not part of the government. Or you sit at the back bencher. You are not part of the cabinet. Those of us inside, whether we are SPLM, we are IO, SOAS, and all the rest, we are all one. Our concern is really the real opposition to us who are not part of the government. And this is what I personally recognize that is the opposition. But this terminology of SPLM, IG, SPLM, IO,
so OPP,
Alliance.
We are in the same goofer.
We are all one. People should not be deceived by the fact that it is these people, the IG, and we are not part of it. Have you ever seen any minister resigning or any member of parliament resigning because they are IOs or they are SOA? Never. It has never happened. What is there is that for public agitation, some may decide to walk out from the parliament, hang somewhere there, and the following day, if they are sitting there, they're supposed to be seated in their seats. So we are actually one. Don't be deceived. Don't be deceived. We are actually one. The open space, this is a very good point, which is raised. The open is.
Oh no, come on. Network.
Okay. Yeah, I think the network is having issues. But okay, they are back.
Raising a motion in parliament that, Right Honorable, I'm moving a motion that there is no political civic space for our party, whether it is SOA or it is SPLM, IO, that has been denied opportunities. But when you go and read them in the social media, we have been denied this, we have been done like this. That is the job of the civil society, the people outside. But as members of parliament, we have to move motions in the parliament. And up to now, since this agreement was signed, despite the roar being spread in the social media, no single motion has ever been tabled in this parliament or in the council of state saying a certain party has been denied an opportunity to hold a rally. And I think this is a weakness of the role of members of parliament. As member of parliament, when you see something going wrong, you move a motion. We don't go to write in the press. We talk in the parliament, and the press and the civil societies will quote me in what I have spoken in that city. But if I join the street, they will consider me as what? Simply nothing but a negative agitator.
Mm-hmm.
I started talking in the street, and I don't stick to my parliamentary discipline and ethics. And I challenge anyone who can remind me that no, on this day, such a motion was moved in parliament and it was debated. But to the best of my knowledge, there has never been any motion moved by members of parliament or in the council of state about this civic political space. So it is an opportunity for whoever is listening to this to talk to those members of parliament. Let them behave like parliamentarians. Let them behave as parliamentarians, not the people in the street. That is the difference. And of course, when you shout in the street or you write in the social media, yes, the people who read those wordings will praise you. Yeah, you are the correct person. You are doing the right thing. But that is not procedural. It is not parliamentary in nature If you are a member of parliament mandated, why are you afraid to talk inside the parliament and you prefer to talk just in the streets and in the social media? Some of them take this, especially these things came up when they heard that there are going to be elections and so on. They now want to say this to attract the voters. The party SPND monopolize ajadi kulu wonna mafi fogo wo desado hezit mabanfa, they thought it is a propaganda. But now as people dialogue, as people now dialogue, and I think it is making some sense. Del kaman malo ya ke jamala jadi zedero li jugal besen te kabade masalan be kulle reis or governors wata dawa erde be kun kef. They are just afraid because the poisoning of the minds of the electorates is now being shrinked. And to the best of my knowledge, the dialogue which is now taking place among the parties to the agreement, some of them are seeing now the sense that it is better we go stage by stage of the president and the governors. So you will realize that even in the social media, those people who visit you in the papers, they will now go low and they will wait. Now they will be concentrating on the presidency. How are they concentrating? By creating such wild rumors. Army have been brought from Uganda. You see, because they are afraid of the elections of the president, this is why they have brought this. These are all wild rumors which you don't need to believe them. Because if it is being said by members of parliament, I beg you, my comrades, sisters and brothers, that you advise them that since you are members of the parliament, why don't you raise it as a motion in parliament? And you have seen how many motions we have debated. Even some of the people also, when Callisto is arrested and what, we don't talk that in the streets. Somebody will have to put up a motion, ask the Minister of Interior, Defense, and so on. They are summoned and they give the answers. And you have witnessed this parliament even dismissed the mayor of Juba. I think all of you will agree with me. He was not discussed through the social media. A motion was moved. The governor was summoned. He defended himself. But at the end of the day, the parliament said no, resolution was taken. You are also aware of the fact that this parliament even summoned the governor of Western Equatoria. He was grilled in the house by the parliament. And that is the role of members of parliament. But we don't join people in the streets and whether they are shouting and we also join with them. No, we don't do that. So you advise them when there is an issue, some of them may not be able to write. You are allowed even to write that motion, give to them, and just let one of them go to the podium and raise it as a motion to be debated. And if it is not debated, then that is the time where they will now raise a complaint. But without a motion, we as members of parliament, we are not the street vendors. We are not supposed to do things that way. This is the message I want to send to everybody who is listening to us in this forum. Once again, I appreciate and thank you very much. But
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Honorable Mori. Before I go to Edmund Yakani, I have two people in this other clubhouse. There is a young man called Otiosis who want to ask you a question, Honorable Mori. And before I give would like to introduce you guys. My apology, I didn't introduce Isaac here to you, honorable member. Isaac is a chairman. He's the president of Legislative Media. So I just want that, and he's a one of the Legislative Media president. So I just want to let you guys know him. Introduce him.
Okay.
On the screen. So I can give this chance to Otios in Clubhouse. He having a specific question to you, Honorable Mori, and then I will move to Samuel, and then those two gentlemen I will let them have them put, and then I will move to Inu. So Otios, go ahead and answer your question to Honorable Mori.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Doricious Ethica. I'm an Equatorian nationalist for Equatorial Independent. You guys spoken many things I've heard you earlier. My main question, if you don't, I hope we can hear because I hear some echo. My main question is about you guys in the.
Are you guys hearing him?
Yes.
Okay.
But he's cutting. We want him to repeat the
question.
And the question.
They didn't catch you for the first one.
All right, thank you. First, my name is Odysseus Ethica. For those who don't know me, I'm an Equatorian activist, nationalist who believe in Equatorial independence. My main question to Mr. Oliver, the spokesman earlier, the speaker, the parliamentarian, the speaker, he mentioned many things. My main question here first is about the land issue. I know there was some discussion about the land because we Equatorians have a lot of disagreement with how the regime is conducting itself about the land of Equatoria and other areas, but in particular Equatoria. What is your interpretation and what is your definition to the natives who own the land and how the influx of others from Upper Nile, Bahr al-Ghazal into Equatoria? What is your power there within the parliamentarian to kind of like respect the natives within Equatoria? Add to it, how do you describe yourselves in the difference between government, traditional government or elected government, or legislative power, or the caretakers? Because up to now, there's many questions that ask about the legitimacy of the regime within South Sudan, adding to other question of the revitalized peace agreement that have come up since the conflict between Kir and Mashar, which caused kind of like interpreted into South Sudan issue. Do you think this is actually a fair thing to describe this conflict belong to all of us, or this conflict within a party that later divided itself into many? And one of them is the opposition IO. Can you help me on that? And the matter of election, you see the international community are not really satisfied with the process of the revitalized peace agreement based on you guys. There is a delayment, and there is a procrastination in the matter of achieving the whole agreement. So what is your thought on that, and what is your action beside it? Especially the election is coming. Do you think you're prepared? And I remember Yekani mentioned earlier about the census, if I'm not mistaken. Did you even prepare to resettle the people back home so you can do a complete census, and then say later you can actually campaign for election? And you got only a couple of months before we get into the deadline for the election. And I thank you very much. I hope you guys understood my question. If you want me to repeat myself, I'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you, audience. Yeah, very good question. Yeah, so I can hear Michael back to Honorable Mori and Duwar to answer those questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. The two issues are very, very, very interesting. But the first thing you have to know is that any member of parliament, before taking his responsibilities, there is an oath which he takes to serve the interests of the people of the Republic of South Sudan without necessarily segregating them, that these are Equatorians, these are Upper Nileans, and these are Bahr Ghazalians. This is the first thing. Before you sit on that chair as a member of parliament, you take that oath. Therefore, the issue of the land, I want to inform you that the issue of the land, there is already a process being taken by the minister in charge of land. And that bill will be tabled to Parliament before whether this partial election for the presidency or for the governors or even the general election which will follow later for the constituencies. And when such a bill is tabled to the Parliament about the issue of the land, there will be a public hearing. And in that public hearing, people like you who has expressed that concern, nobody will block you out. You'll be allowed to go even to the gallery and listen to the debate. And if you have opinions, you will be able to pass it to any of the members of parliament to express. And I want to tell you also that when that bill will be tabled, that will be the first reading. There will be a second reading which is passed to the committee concerned, and there will be public hearing on that bill, on the issue of the land. People will be invited to debate over it. Members of parliament, that will be the time they will debate in the second reading, which is about the main principles, and then the third reading, which discusses the details of the bill. So it will only be then, when it is tabled, where I will then give in my contribution. Because as of now, we have not yet received the copies of that bill, but we are informed that it is on the process of coming to the parliament. This is very important point for you to note. We will talk not as MPs of Equatoria or Central Equatoria. We will talk there as MPs of the Republic of South Sudan. And let me inform you,
Land is over.
This issue of the land does not only affect us as people in Central Equatoria or in Juba, as you may think. This morning, with my good friend here, Samuel Duwar, an issue came up about tractors which are going to be distributed for farmers. Okay. People said, you are taking it to that area. That farm, Binadi Mazra Bitabunu, it belongs to who? And then, well, anybody can cultivate and can be given the tractor as a community to cultivate in that area. One of our colleagues, and this is actually in the area of the Denka in Warabi state. And I will, no, we will not allow it. And they were just arguing. I was present as members of parliament over the issue of land. So we have to liberate our minds as Equatorians in the first place that this law of the land, this bill of the land, is not geared only towards Equatoria. This is a wrong thinking. It is a law which will be applied all over South Sudan. And there, we shall all contribute. And it is only at that time when you will hear my personal view on this law as a member of the parliament. Yes, this issue of the land may take us to the so-called land grabbing. It is only apparent here in Juba because the majority of the people are here in Juba as the capital. This is why they are visible. But this issue of the land, there are also places even outside Juba, outside Equatoria, where they have these complaints about their land being taken from the indigenous people. It is a fact. We have traveled to some of these places and we found this problem. So that issue will be addressed by then. Will there be community land, government land, or whatever land? It will come during that time of the debate. Let us rid our minds of that this thing is only targeting Equatoria. It is a law covering the Republic of South Sudan. And when we talk there, I don't accept the notion that I'm talking there as an Equatorian. No, I'm talking there as a member of parliament, taking the interest of the people of the Republic of South Sudan. What was the second point he was trying to talk about?
You talk about the legitimacy of the government and the parliament.
Yes, indeed. About you were very specific in that His Excellency Salva Kiir married the President of the Republic and the first Vice President. Nobody is targeting any of these two. Comrade Salva Kiir has his party called SPLM. Riek Machar has his party, as of now, called SPLM-IO. Kiir Mayardit is the commander-in-chief of the South Sudan People Defense Forces.
Other organized forces.
And Riek also says he is the commander-in-chief of the IO. Each person is going on his line. And this is why we say we want to make a halt, a full stop on this. No country has two commanders-in-chief. Only one president and one commander-in-chief. This is why we are saying let the two, and if there are others through consensus who want also to contest, let them join the race so that we determine, the people of South Sudan determine who is their president and automatically who is their commander-in-chief. And after the presidential elections, we will not hear again that we have two commander-in-chief because we have our second batch, which is not yet graduated or integrated. No. After the elections, there will be only one commander-in-chief. And by that time, through God's grace, we hope even the second batch of the IO would have been trained and integrated into the army. The other point you were adding to it as an appendix was their deployment. Now, in the general command of the South Sudan People's Defense Forces, it includes mainly the components of these two main stakeholders in the agreement. That is to say, the SPLM and the IO, and even the SOA, they are there in the general command of the South Sudan People's Defense Forces. So if there is their deployment or there is a delay in their deployment, it is not that it is SPLM which is delaying it. No, there is a defense board which is there, including them all, like the resolutions coming from the cabinet. These are not resolutions of SPLM. These are resolutions of the cabinet, government of national unity. With Kiir, so this must be what should go into our minds. Those decisions are not decisions taken by one party. Or to be more direct, as they put it, SPLM takiru de wuta kan wenna. Kan fi jesi tafi. Kan fi cabinet tafi. Kan fi parliament. You are the first deputy speaker there. Kararade Kulu, before if they are brought for the plenary, these three vice president, the speaker, and his three deputies, they sit on the organization, including IO and so on, and then SPLM. So we should remove from our minds this thinking that it is the SPLM which is doing it. It is the SPLM which is doing it. What can we might do now? As an Kelukun SPLM ya and to make it valid, if you believe so, whoever believes so, step aside so that it is known that this is the SPLM run government. But as of now, it is the government of national unity. It is the parliament of national unity. I hope I have satisfactorily answered my brother who posed that question on the land, and you will hear my view when it is stable and when it will be discussed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Mori. The last question from Clubhouse, and then we will tackle that. Samuel, go ahead with your question.
Did you ask me any question?
No, Samuel, who in the Clubhouse, not you.
Your forum and to the honorable guests and our civil society activists or organization in Maniakali. I have two questions that concerning the economy of in South Sudan, and one request. I will start with a request as a concerned citizen of South Sudan. We hear that Molana Kalisto was arrested because of voicing her voice on behalf of his people in Juba area, and he is a member of HCLM. I urge the honorable guests of who are part of our members of parliament to help for the release of Molana Tegisto. Because as a citizen, it will show
Abraham, if I will not interrupt the Zol question, Zol Al-Gadamul question. We are running out of
Time now.
the battery, leave alone time.
Okay.
I have not connected my computer, by the way.
Oh,
and it has told me that the computer has gone low battery. So
okay.
Can I join you on the
yes, join us on
the Clubhouse?
Yes, go ahead. You exit from the screen and then come to Clubhouse.
Yes, that will be better.
Yeah,
and I will get you in the Clubhouse. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good.
Great, and then we allowed Mr. Edmund Yakani to weigh in.
Okay. So Samuel, hang on there, let him come. He will come in the Clubhouse so he can they can hear you very well. So okay.
Should I come in?
Hang on. So Honorable, okay, they're gone. Okay. Let me see here. Hang on, let me see here if they are coming in into the other side. They will show up here. Okay, while we're waiting on them, yeah, Ilmun, go ahead. So go ahead, Ilmun. I would like you to go ahead and answer those questions, and then put in your closing mark, and then we will close down the studio while we continue with the Clubhouse in 30 minutes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. I wish I could have been on face-to-face with Honorable Oliver Mori and Deng on some issues that have been asked, and I think they pertain reality. Since I'm in Clubhouse, I will answer, and then you can pick up later on the Clubhouse, and I'll give my closing remarks. One, whether elections are going to be free and fair is so much determined by the consensus around the political parties. And that's why we're calling for an inclusive political parties dialogue and stakeholders so that we nail down this issue of free and fair. Question that have been asked to SPLMIG. That's one thing that will come forward. In regard to the question that were directed to me, one, timeline right now for holding the elections is running out. This is one thing. Secondly, these elections have a lot of legalities that actual electoral commission have to come forward and present. And I wish if those of Honorable Oliver Mori and Deng was here, would have asked them, let them summon the National Election Commission chair to explain how is the National Election Commission prepared for holding of the elections in terms of the technicalities. Geographical constituency require population census. Population census require return of IDPs and refugees. Return of IDPs and refugees is not compulsory, it is voluntary. If IDPs and refugees say we're going to return after the next 10 years, should we extend this government for the period of 10 years? That's a logical question. And they were saying, see a middle ground, and the middle ground should come through consensus, because you can't force our IDPs and refugees to return if they don't feel safe and they don't feel secure. But if they say they're waiting for the next 5 years or 10 years, should they allow this government to continue for 10 years? That's the logic behind it. So the connection between population census and return of IDPs and refugees is a logical question that requires people have to agree on certain compromise and certain dialogues. And that's what I'm saying. There's a necessity for us to look into the elections. And if I look at the elections, we need to answer this question of the population census with a logical answer. Because you can't impose on the refugees in Kakuma, in Uganda, to return compulsory. No. You can't force them to go to the country because we need for population census in the next 2 years, then we go for elections. You can't impose on them on that. Even the IDPs who are in Juba, you can't force them to go back to where they come from. That's one thing that I'd like to make it very clear with regard to issue of them. But I don't agree on impartial elections. This concept we should go only with executive elections and leave legislative one. That one really for me is a shortcut for retention of power. That's one thing I will say. And the reason why I would like to see Honorable Oliver Morifi Manaini and Deng is that the current constitution never have any provision to commission elections. The current constitution, we can't use it for elections until if it is amended, by the way. And remember, there's a provision in the agreement which said the agreement is supreme to the constitution. So if there's any dispute in line of the revised peace agreement, go back to the agreement. So the current constitution never commissioned unless if the MPs have to amend the current constitution in order to commission elections. Because the agreement is designed in a way that the permanent constitution is the only instrument of commission elections. So this is a reality. This is a reality. We should not escape it by saying, look here, because the current constitution does not vacuum. No, but the provision agreement, the current constitution cannot commission elections until amendment have to be done on certain provisions of the current constitution in order. And that's why Honorable Michael McQuay have alluded to it. That actually the best way you can do is now we need to amend. If time runs, we're going to amend the constitution, some provisions. And that's a legal person who knows exactly the legal interpretation of the current constitution in relation to commissioning of elections. And that's why the legitimacy of the question around the permanent constitution become key, that the current constitution never commission until you have the permanent constitution, or you go and amend the current constitution, certain provisions in order to commission elections. Because if there's electoral related disputes, where is the constitutional court to respond to that? Where is the judiciary reforms that if the Right Honorable Speaker have last before the Parliament will open, Right Honorable Speaker was talking about judiciary reforms, which are key with the elections. And when the Judiciary Reform Commission want to present their report, they have been tactfully delayed, and their mandate have expired already. And their report contained a very good constitutional reform and judiciary reforms proposal that it would have helped in creating a conducive environment for election to be conducted free and fair. That's one thing I'd like to make it forward. The question of the citizens, I want to come and connect later on with the question of the land. The question around the element of there's a question which was around extension on how if the election is going to be. For me, if we have inclusive political dialogue, we can reach consensus of some of these prerequisites that are enshrined in the agreement. Because this prerequisite is not an IO prerequisite. or it's not a SOA prerequisite, it is a prerequisite required by the provisional agreement. And that's why you need to reach consensus here. The consensus you cannot reach through imposing. You have to reach it through going down and sitting down and reach some compromise. Say, okay, let's agree on another pathway, like the same way how the roadmap was agreed upon. Because whether people like or people don't like, there's no more any appetite for any extension. That's the most important thing. Now the question is, how will this dialogue be different from national dialogue? This particular dialogue we're calling for is commission on how do we end the political transitional processes through the agreement. Because this political transitional process through agreement, we need to bring an end to it. We can't continue transitioning from time to time. And we can't do it until we reach a certain consensus politically as a nation that this is a pathway to end this particular transition through the conduct of the elections, being it 2024 or whatever it's going to be. But we need to reach consensus on that. That, for me, is a very critical case related to the question of the elections and the question of the constitution and population census and the elections. That's what I'd like to bring forward. Coming to the element of the constitution-making process, let me be honest with you, South Sudanese, wherever you are. There's nothing impossible if you have a will and adequate funding. And that's what I'm normally saying. Once will is availed, political will is availed, resources is availed, you can accelerate this process. But we're dragging our feet and we're rigid because we have high deficit in trust and confidence, where it will have delay commitment and even allocation of resources. So for me, once the will and the resources is there, you can make miracles. But in the absence of resources and will, how do you move? You can't move. You keep on talking like the way we're speaking now. Let's come for examples. Examples of violations of civic and political space. It's good to bring practical examples. And I wish if Honorable Deng is in the clubhouse together with Oliver Mori, I think these are examples that we need to raise them. And I think these examples require a motion to be raised by one of the MPs. What are the examples? I want to give practical examples. There's an event of SPLM-IO in Northern Parkazal. They were scattered, and even one of the IO member who is a chairperson of anti-corruption was detained. That's a violation of open political and civic space, evidently on the ground. There's an incident where SPLM members went to Fangak and they were given 72 hours to leave. And even some of them were thrown with stones, and there's a beating of drums down President Kiir because they're treating as SPLM. That's a violation from IO side against SPLM, and there's a violation of SPLM against SPLM-IO in Northern Parkazal. That's a clear incident. If those ones look very far, let's look at the recent in Jongole. IO were blocked from going to Twitch East County of Jongole, and SPLM t-shirts were banned in Lamken by SPLM-IO. These are clear violations of the civic and political space that we can put them as a practical example that emotions can be raised upon that. And then look at the incidences of the event of the SOA in the basketball. Look at where political parties are organizing their events in hotels. They're not allowed to go to any public space. But some parties, the ruling party, SPLM, go and do rallies outside there. Look at those particular incidents. Those ones all require motion to be raised if we are to use motion. So I don't think that there's no evidence. There are evidence, but this evidence are denied always. And this is why sometimes the problem, when we deny the reality, you radicalize behaviors of people. So let's stand on the reality and let's push this forward. I think these ones can be done, and evidence can be brought forward in terms of violation of civic and political space that we feel. And I think these particular violations are not policy of the principle of the parties. Neither His Excellency President have directed members of SPLM to do that. Neither His Excellency First Vice President have directed IO to do that. But their subordinates, and this is what I've said before in the beginning, the subordinates of the principles at various levels tend to claim they have a decision on the principle, like they've been given license to do that. And the principal are subject to react on that. If you remember, there's an incident of t-shirts t-shirts and some items of SPLM and a kobo was taken up. And some also SPLM is finding hardship. For example, let me give an example of in Western Parkazal. SPLM cannot go to Pagari area, well, because that's a stronghold of IO. So there are physical evidence of shrinking or restriction of civic and political space. But we need to take the reality. Today, go and tell Wow County Commissioners SPLM to go to Pagari. With the issue of Wow Mahal or Wow cannot be shifted, we can't move. Even some principal political leaders that can't move. So at subnational level, the violations are there, but we should not deny them. What we would have done is that let us compile these indicators and put it forward. Now, these violations, forget about other international treaties that we are party to. Before I go on, let me give examples. One, on 22nd October 2022, presidency have met, and I'm saying presidency, not president. Presidency has made, through communication from the former minister and also the president, Honorable Benjamin Marial, have communicated official, and it's there in the media, we can quote. Benjamin Marial communicated to state governors, county commissioners, chief administrators, to ensure from that day of 22nd October 2022, political and civic space is open for everybody. But was that respected? That was violated immediately by SPLM, by SPLM-IO, the following days. And later on, I'll provide interpretation what is meant by civic and political space to these particular parties. Secondly, the resolutions of the 6th Governors Forum have demanded for opening of political civic space. The same resolutions were repeated in the 7th Governors Forum. Were they respected? They have been violated. And on 22nd February 2023, President signed a ratified UN convention by the parliament where Honorable Mori and Honorable Deng were there, that South Sudan become a state party to UN Convention on Civil and Political Rights. We've been violating it. Even one of the incident of Callisto is a clear violation of that treaty. So for me, there are clear evidence that we should not deny the reality. And normally, you know, things become harder and become messy when you don't want to accept the truth. The truth will set you free. Let us stand for the truth so that we can move. So that's those evidence that MPs need to raise emotion. And specifically, since Honorable President now have called for elections, the question of civic space is very important. What needs to be done? Just we need pronouncement from the head of the state that from today, everybody have equal space to run everywhere and exercise their freedoms of assembly, association, movement, and freedom of expression and opinion as elections are coming forward. But that is already there in the legislation. Bill of Rights talk about it. The UN Convention talk about it. The Governors Forum 6 and the 7th Resolution talk about it. The Directive of the Presidents, which is actually binding, legally binding, talked about it. And all of them have been violated simply because we don't. Now, this is an interpretation of civic and political space from perspective of SPLM and SPLM-IO. For SPLM and SPLM-IO, they have a shared interpretation of open political civic space. For them, the constituency they belong to, their opponents will not come. IU was saying this space is ours, SPLM don't come to it. SPLM saying this space is ours, I don't come to it. And it was repeated in Jongole, the evidence I've used in Jongole, the one of Lanken and then the one of Nirol, where Lanken town, and then the one of Twitch is. Though they issue counter statement. No. And each of them issue the same statement. We said, no, we have never done that. That's a minor case. It's a minor case, but it's a violation of civic space. And that's why, from my perspective as civil society, recently we have documented 9 incidences of violation of civic and political space, and the perpetrators are SPLM and SPLM-IO against each of them, apart from other incidences. So for me, this is a reality that let us talk about it, because remember, when I was talking about Arab Spring, is when you deny people freedom of expression, people will becoming more radical against the state. While it's not a policy of the leadership of the state, but subordinates are doing that. So for me, that's very, very, very critical. That needs to be taken up seriously, and our MPs in the current parliament need to raise that, and we can work with them and give them those evidence and let them raise emotion about it. To our subnational party leader, because for me, members of these political parties at subnational level are so radical against each other that they don't respect decisions of their own principles. And that's what I'm saying. Let the principle instill culture of maturity and discipline to them, so that when you go for election, because this election, some people are not going to campaign some constituencies with this version I've shared. That's for me is a clear indication that we need to put forward there. Coming to the issue of the land. The issue of the land is the realities everywhere. What is going on between Twitch, Mayardit, and ABA is an issue of land. That deadly violence is an issue of land. As equal as even the naming of the Clement Borough Bridge in Western Bargazal is an issue of land. Even the Apuk and the Marel Wow is an issue of land. Okay? So these issues of lands are everywhere. And I would like to tell our honorable members in the parliament, if they're listening, if they're in the clubhouse, they're listening, that land is the next aspect of a deadly violence among South Sudanese. Now, Abraham, I've sent to you, Isaac, I've sent a video to Abraham. And this question, I wish Oliver Mori would have answered the question very well. Yes, I know that element of Equatorial sounds more radical, but there's a facts on the question raised to Oliver Mori over the issue of the land. Honorable Governor of Central Equatorial State, Adil, have spoken, and the video I've sent, he have said land grabbing in Central Equatorial is becoming a security issue. It's a question of land governance around the capital. And the grabbers are people who tend to undermine the legal procedures for acquiring land. Land is not being denied, but there's a legal procedure for acquiring land. And that's why the government have to take responsibility. As honorable members, they take responsibility so that access to land is done in a very clear, democratic, and a very clear way, in a legal way. Let me use this word. Land acquisition should be done in a legal way. Yes, it's a capital city. By the way, if land access acquisition is done in a legal way, by itself, it's a source of revenue to the host communities. But the people who claim to be that they're authorities, but they have access to guns, they said demarcating land. The question is, honorable members should raise a motion in the parliament. How do we improve issue of land governance around the capital? That debate should be raised. And that is the responsibility of Honorable Mori, who represent the Central Equatorial State in the parliament. And Juba County is his constituency. I know it very well. This is his constituency. And the governor is saying land grabbing in Central Equatorial becoming a security issue. And really it's becoming a security issue. This is the truth. And this link with land governance. And that's why issues of land governance need to be taken serious by our parliament. It's not only Central Equatorial issue, but it's across the country. Land governance is the next trend of deadly violence. We have already seen somewhere. People are creating new history interpretation of the land. And it's causing a deadly violence already. We have been scoring incidents of where people have been dying because some people give a different interpretation of land ownership from the history where the land is. So for me, he should not dodge that this issue of land governance should wait until this land law is there for a long time. I know I've been not with Land Alliance. There's some MPs even does not want it. Forget about him, he's waiting. There's some MPs who have dismissed this land bill. They don't want to see it there. So there's a need to raise a motion on issue of land governance and deadly violence across the country with the case study of Juba County. So that question, if you take out the element of Equatoria alone, these land issues is going to be real. Look at what happened recently with the Sholo when they want to cross the eastern bank of the Nile. They had to create a tension with the Padang Dinka. Look at the issue of Malakal, whether it's Malakal or it's Malakal or whatever the name is. These are all. So for me, as honorable members of the parliament, take up responsibility, raise a motion on land governance issue. Go case by case. You will find a solution and you'll bring the element of nationalism there. So for me, that's the issue related to the issue of the land that Ole Mori have raised. Because let me share with you Abraham and Isaac and people in the clubhouse. What is going on now in Jebel Lado Payam of Juba County, where already we have seen confrontation in a deadly way, is going to turn into something different. And it's going to shame the image of the country as if we don't have rules and regulations. Let's apply the rules and regulations. We have beautiful rules and regulations, but why are we avoiding them? Why are we seeing some people seems to be undermining the rule of law? Who is aiding those people who undermine the rule of law? Obviously, capital city have to expand, but should expand in legal manner, in a way that all over the world, it's not only Juba, all over the world, capital cities have expanded, but they expanded in a very legal way. Remember what happened in Rumbek when Honorable Ring was claiming a land of the school. Remember, there's in one of the governors' forum, there's a resolution that all school landers were taken away by private sector must be given back to the schools. Though in Central Equatorial State, where was not proper excise. As we look at that today, Juba Commercial, the dormitory of the teachers is having shops in front of it. While that land historically is a dormitory for teachers. Some people are so powerful that they're able to, because they can take away life of somebody, then they have the power to take it away. But what Ring did in Lakes, he went and demolished. And a former governor did a claim, this land was given to me by father. No, this land belonged to the school, and Ring demolished it. People are shouting, but Ring implement because it's a requirement. So for me, let us be keen. And one of it is that I don't know what politics are we playing here. You see land issues becoming tense, you are making political decisions that contradict. And even let me tell you the mistake which was made, and I have to make it very clear. The issue of Jebel Lado Payam is becoming tense, hot, as my governor of the state, right, honorable governor, Adil saying land grabbing becoming a security issue in Juba. We are firing Juba County Commission. Here we are arresting Callisto. You know, this all connects certain radicalization of population, which we don't want it because it is meaningless and carries no anything. So for me, this is the tag I would like to make. My final concluding remark, so that we can end up, I would like to tell South Sudanese, the best way forward, one, administratively, operationally, legally, the timeline for holding election December 2024 is tight. And we can't impose any solution on that. The only best way is for us to go for an inclusive national political dialogue and we reach consensus. Whatever we reach there is a pathway to keep the country holding and to keep the country free from violence, and we move from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Edmund Yakani and Honorable Duwar and Honorable Mori. They are now in the clubhouse, and all our viewers in the YouTube and the Facebook, we are moving the conversation into the clubhouse. We appreciate your being with us and listening and your comments, participations. We really say thank you so much. We end the show here. May God bless you. May God bless Republic of South Sudan. Have a good day, good night, good afternoon, wherever you are tuning in. We catch up in the clubhouse to continue the conversation. Thank you, Edmund.
Atoyin Juba, Malatori, Ayambio, Ping William, Atoyin Benti, Walla Quaju, Kayawao, Ping William, Atoyin Malkal, Walla Pinyaram, Ping William.